Good evening and welcome. I call to order the Lake Havasu City Council regular meeting on Tuesday, May 27th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. We'll now have an invocation from B. Evans, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commander Omar Ethier from the VFW Post 9401.
Always a privilege. Thank you. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just give you all the praise and the glory tonight. We just know, Lord, you're standing there with open arms welcoming us, because even if we don't come in praising and worshiping, you love to talk to us. So we're so grateful tonight, Lord, that you're listening as we lift up our city council before you, because we know, Lord, they have such just a job to do, that they need all of your wisdom. And we thank you that you're so generous to give it, Lord God. We lift up, of course, our police department and all of our service people, our fire service, all that work for us so hard, Father, that you protect their families, we pray. Our city council's families, we pray. And Lord, we just thank you for this night. We thank you that you're here because we've asked you to be here. You're welcome. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please join me in a pledge of allegiance to the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice to all. Amen.
Thank you for being with us, Commander. If you'd like to share a little bit about the VFW Post 9401.
A little 9401, we have we're 774 members strong, very big, of course, advocates of the military and families. People don't realize that we have a shed full of hospital equipment for veterans families. All they have to do is come down and sign it out, no cost. We're always doing things like that. That's what we're here for, to help out.
Excellent. Thank you so much for all the great work you do for our veterans and for our community.
Thank you.
Yes. Take care. Thanks, Commander. All right. Item 4 on the agenda is our roll call. Ms. Williams, if you please call the roll.
Council members Nancy Campbell.
Here again.
Jenny Koch.
Here.
Jim Dolan.
Here.
David Diaz.
Here.
Cameron Moses.
Here.
Vice Mayor Michelle Lynn.
Here.
Mayor Kal Sheehy.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 5 is our consent agenda. Would any of the council members like to remove any of the items for separate discussion?
Mayor.
Yeah, Councilmember Koch.
Motion.
Please.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Koch, a second from Councilmember Moses. We're ready to vote. Vice Mayor Lynn.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Item 6 is our correspondence, communications, petitions, announcements, and the city manager report. Item 6.1 is the fiscal year 2024-25 first and second quarter reports from the Western Arizona Humane Society. Chief Sterling included this in our packet. It's also available on our website for our citizens to review for our information. Item 6.2 is to announce the vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. Ms. Williams?
Mayor and City Council, there are several upcoming and current vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. The following is a listing of those vacancies. Board of Adjustment, 3 regular members, 1 alternate member. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, 5 regular members. Planning and Zoning Commission, 3 regular members, 1 alternate member. And the Public Safety Personnel Retirement System, 1 regular member. The deadline to submit applications is this Friday, May 30th by 5 p.m. Applications are available on the city's website and also in the city clerk's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Item 6.3 is our city manager's report. Good evening, Mr. Knudsen.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Lots to share this evening. First off, I'd like to proudly recognize EMS Week, which is May 18th through May 24th, celebrating the theme "We Care for Everyone." This week, serves as an opportunity to honor our emergency medical service professionals who respond with skill, speed, and with compassion. caring for our residents during the most critical moments. We extend our sincere gratitude to all EMS personnel for their unwavering dedication to the health, safety, and well-being of our community. Lake Havasu City was proud to attend the Starline Elementary's Kids City Dedication Day as an immersive simulation that teaches our students about government, banking, entrepreneurship, and civic responsibility. Leading up to the event, the class was spearheaded and the program was participated in with a Kid City style coffee with the mayor and city manager, asking thoughtful questions on how the local government operates. So we had all the kids who were in this room and really a really impressive dialogue going back and forth. Mayor Kaylee Fudge of Kid City, along with the Mayor Sheehy, officially proclaimed May 13th as Kid City Dedication Day. And a big thank you to all the council members, city staff who supported the inspiring event for our future leaders. National Public Works was just last week, May 18th through May 24th, with the theme People, Purpose, and Presence. Lake Havasu City proudly celebrated National Public Works Week by recognizing the dedication and hard work of our public works team. Whether it's maintaining our streets, our city fleet, our city facilities, or managing projects, from maintaining and providing water and wastewater services, our airport operations, this team works tirelessly behind the scenes to keep our city running safely and efficiently. A big thank you to our entire Public Works team for your continued commitment to our community. The kids on the Colorado River team gathered here just at last council meeting to celebrate their Crescordia Award from Arizona Forward for Environmental Education and Communication, a proud recognition of our community's commitment to environmental education. Of course, so we took the picture at the last council meeting and joined here by mayor, vice mayor, council members, as well as the Chamber of Commerce CEO, Andrea Hellert. On May 17th, Lake Havasu Little League Day celebrated 50 years of service to our community. For 5 decades, Lake Havasu Little League has helped shape the lives of local kids, teaching the importance of teamwork, sportsmanship, and perseverance. It's more than just baseball. It's a reflection on what makes Havasu special: families, volunteers, and a community that shows up for one another. A big thank you to all the coaches, the board members, and countless supporters who have poured their hearts into the league year after year. And I'd like to thank Jillian Danielson with River Scene for the beautiful picture. Just yesterday, I had the privilege of attending the Memorial Day ceremony at Wheeler Park, where our community came together to honor and remember those who gave their lives in service to our country. In attendance were Arizona State Representative Leah Biasucci, Mojave County Supervisor Sonny Borelli, Mayor Cal Sheehy, Council members Nancy Campbell and David Diaz, as well as our city team. The ceremony was meaningful and a tribute to the brave men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice, and a powerful reminder of the deep gratitude that we hold for their service. And again, thank you to Jillian Danielson from River Scene for the pictures. I'd like to take a moment to recognize and congratulate Lake Havasu City's very own Gabriela Vera, Director of Parks and Recreation, for being National Young Professional of the Year by the National Recreation and Parks Association. This is one award that goes out each year nationally. And Gabby, congratulations on earning this award. Your leadership, creativity, and commitment to serving our community have not only made a lasting impact here in Havasu, but also earned her well-deserved recognition on a national level. She'll be honored this September at the 2025 NRPA Annual Conference, and we couldn't be prouder of her. Congratulations to you, Gabby, and thank you for representing Lake Havasu City with such great excellence. Now, Mr. Tuneman, if you haven't seen this picture yet, it's a quick reminder that the next Coffee with the Mayor is coming up next Friday on June 6th, right here in the council chambers at 92 Acoma Boulevard South. You're turning red. This session will feature our special guest, Development Services Director Jeff Tuneman. We hope you'll join us for some great conversation and community updates. And we may also hear from our Parks and Recreation Director, and maybe a representative from Republic Services will join us at the coffee as well, too. So it should be a great event, and not just because I won't be there, but we'll have lots of information to share with everybody. And lastly, I'm excited to share that our Get to Know Your Parks video series is continuing to gain lots of momentum. We're hearing lots of great feedback. In this video, we're going to learn more about Wheeler Park and how its role has shaped our community.
I'm Councilmember Jenny Koch, and I'm thrilled to invite you to Wheeler Park, located in the heart of Lake Havasu City at 1801 McCulloch Boulevard. Wheeler Park isn't just a park. It's a vibrant hub of community spirit. This expansive green space plays host to a few events that commemorate special occasions. One of the most beloved traditions is the holiday lighting ceremony that transforms the park into a breathtaking wonderland. But there's so much more to discover at Wheeler Park. Admire the peaceful water fountain and the soldier statue in honor of our United States military. Soak in the atmosphere of a place that brings us together to celebrate, reflect, and create lasting memories. Whether you're here to relax, join in the festivities, Wheeler Park is a must-see destination that embodies the magic and the heart of Lake Havasu City.
Thank you, Councilmember Koch, for that introduction or reintroduction to Wheeler Park and all the great things that space offers to the public. And with that, Mayor, that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Knudsen. All right, we'll move on to item 7, which are public hearings. During each of our public hearings, we will have an opportunity for citizens to engage in the conversation. We'll open the public hearing after we have discussion. We encourage you to engage with us at that time so we can have a two-way conversation. At the end of our meeting, we also will have a call to the public where citizens can address the City Council on items within the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City, but we can't have a two-way conversation at that time. So again, we encourage you, if you're here for one of the items, to have the discussion at that time. I'll go over the guidelines of the call to the public when we get there. But for the public hearings, we ask that you just address the City Council directly. So you'd make your way to the podium, state your name for the record, and direct your comments to the council. Item 7.1 is Series 12 liquor license for Sloan's at 2198 McCulloch Boulevard. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, Raul Ballas has applied for a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Sloan's located at 2198 McCulloch Boulevard. All posting requirements have been met, all fees have been paid, and no objections were received. The location is properly zoned for a Series 12 restaurant liquor license. Happy to answer any questions. The applicant was also invited to attend tonight's meeting to answer any questions from the City Council, and the application is provided to you in the packet.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Are there any questions from members of the council for Ms. Williams? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor?
Councilmember Dolan?
Motion?
Please.
I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control approve a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Sloan's 2198 McCulloch Boulevard.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Dolan. We have a second from Councilmember Campbell. Is there any additional discussion? All right, so again, we have a motion from Councilmember Dolan, a second from Councilmember Campbell. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Vice Mayor Lynn?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Our next item is 7.2. It's ordinance number 25-1360, amending City Code Title VI, Animals, including but not limited to adding and revising definition, revising violations, and adding unlawful restraint of dog and animal hoarding. Ms. Gary.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As discussed at the last meeting, this item began as a review of the violation and penalty provisions throughout Title VI to ensure that they matched what was contained in the city's computer systems. A more detailed review also occurred at that time to the entire chapter, resulting in the proposed changes before you. As mentioned previously, the newly unlawful restraint of dogs section does not refer to people walking their dogs. So you can still use choke collars and pinch collars when you're walking the dog. The restraint is only when they're tethered to a stationary fixed object, that they can't have the choke collars or pinch collars. The definition of service animal was updated to mirror the definition that's contained in Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act. The ADA's formal definition of service animal is limited to dogs that are individually trained to perform tasks for people with disabilities. Miniature horses are not included in this definition. While not considered service animals under the main definition, the ADA does acknowledge that miniature horses can be trained to do work or perform tasks for individuals with disabilities. Business and organizations covered by the ADA must make reasonable modifications to their policies to allow miniature horses to accompany individuals with disabilities. So we mirrored the exact definition that's contained in the ADA in the proposed changes. It does not contain miniature horses. Miniature horses does have its own separate section in the ADA. I know some concerns have been brought up through on Facebook or something these last couple of days. That's why I'm kind of touching on this now. So we can leave our definition as it is, as it mirrors the ADA. If we want to add back in miniature horses, we can always say service dogs and then in parentheses and miniature horses as defined or as outlined in the ADA if we'd be more comfortable with that. And that would be totally fine. The proposed amendments escalate at large offenses, making subsequent offenses within a 12-month period a criminal charge. The focus of the unlawful restraint of dogs section is mistreatment of dogs and not animals at large, just to make sure that that's clear. And then the 10 or more animals only applies with respect to animal hoarding and determining whether that's occurring, and then that section would be applicable. We're happy to go over any of the parts that you would like to go over in more detail again, or answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Gary. Are there questions for members of the council for Ms. Gary? So again, this is second read. We had discussion at our last council meeting, and now we're bringing it back for final adoption now. Any comments? All right, this is a public hearing. You don't have to sign up for public hearings, but we did have one citizen, Emilio Torres. I know you dropped off a piece of paper for members of the council on behalf of somebody. I don't know if you have any additional comments to add.
Yes, sir, Mayor. My name is Emiliano Torres. I'm a resident. I've had friends and family bring this topic up to me, and they've encouraged me to come up here and speak to you about it. But like I told the clerk, I don't have any firsthand knowledge, but I encourage them to be here, and they're afraid to be here because this is a friends and family issue. They know people that are doing things that they shouldn't be doing, but they don't want to report their friends and family. They don't want to be here. But from what I get from them, it's an important issue that needs to be discussed, and this comes under the hoarding. There are people who are breeding animals, breeding dogs, and if you see on the comments the lady presented, this is a multi-$1,000 business. This is just not someone having a female and having, a litter of pups. This is someone has a female and runs 2 litters a year with 4 different females. We're running into thousands and thousands of dollars. So it's a business. It's just not a casual face-to-face relationship. So on behalf of my friends, I just wanted to submit that. Thank you.
So much. Would anyone else like to address the city council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion. Yeah, Councilmember Diaz.
Ms. Gary, would we control this or monitor it by noise or smell? Would that be something that would help us control that?
Yes. So if somebody's having an issue as far as noise with breeders next door, or maybe the conditions just aren't being upkept, then that could be handled through either the current code under this code, Title VI, or maybe under nuisances, something of that nature. But we don't have anything that's specifically pinpointed to dog breeders.
Ms. Gary? Isn't there like a dog breeders association as well that people could reach out to see if they have some concerns there? Are you aware of anything?
I'm not specifically aware of that, no. But there might be, I just am not, I don't know about that.
Excuse me, do you know of any? Oh, here we go. Here's some information. Thank you. Are you aware of any breeders organizations or anything that has any enforcement to this?
There's none. Even on a national level, there's not like a breeders, that regulates or anything like that from either a state or a national standpoint. When it comes to breeders, it comes back to the ordinance that we're trying to go in. If you have a breeder that's doing everything correctly, taking the puppies to the vet as needed, they're getting their shots, they're cleaning up after the dogs, they're well maintained, they're being fed proper food, they're not the ones that are the focus of the hoarding. It's the people that have 10 or more animals that are neglecting their animals, that are not giving vet care as needed, they're living in filth, things of that nature. That's where that comes into the hoarding aspect of it.
Do you know of any other cities or municipalities that govern this behavior?
For the hoarding?
No, the breeding portion of it.
Not that I'm aware of off the top of my head. And some of my colleagues I've talked to in other municipalities within Arizona, there's nothing specific to breeders.
Okay, thank you very much.
I have a quick question. So, but about that, if somebody is breeding and somebody has concerns and they do call it in and we show up and we see it and everything's fine, it's okay. But if we do see any of the violations that they're not medically treated and things like that, then it is a hoarding case at that point.
Absolutely.
And even if they are a breeder, they're still not taking care of their animals as stated in this ordinance. And then we could, work to resolve it and take care of it that way then, right?
Correct. And depending on the severity, we may step in and take action immediately. If it's something that we see that can be easily corrected, we'll give them a notice of violation, detail exactly what needs to happen, and more importantly, give them a timeline in which that needs to happen to gain that compliance. If they don't comply, that's where we would push the animal hoarding, ultimately seize the animals if we deem necessary, and file criminal charges.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any additional questions or comments from members of the council?
Mayor, I'll make a motion if there's no additional comments.
Please, Councilmember Diaz.
I move to adopt ordinance number 25-1360, amending Title VI, Animals.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Diaz, a second from Councilmember Dolan. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Vice Mayor Lynn?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Item 7.3 is ordinance number 25-1361, amending Lake Havasu City Code Section 2.04.080, regular meetings to revise meeting location, and Section 2.04.130, executive sessions to clarify meeting type. Ms. Gary.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item was introduced previously. No changes were suggested. The first part, amend City Code Section 2.04.080 to revise our meeting location to our new chambers here at 92 Acoma. And then the second part clarifies that the City Council can go into executive session during any meeting, not just during a regular or special meeting. And that's in Section 2.04.130. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Ms. Gary. Are there any questions from members of the council for Ms. Gary? And as Ms. Gary mentioned, again, we had the first read at our last council meeting, and this is final adoption this evening. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for motion or discussion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Dolan?
Motion.
Please.
Move to adopt ordinance number 25-1361, amending City Code Sections 2.04.080 and 2.04.130.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Dolan, a second from Councilmember Campbell. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Vice Mayor Lynn?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Item 7.4 is bid for the courthouse covered parking project to Seesaw and Parks Construction LLC. Good evening, Mr. Porter.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So for those of you that don't know, I'm Phil Porter with the Capital Programs team from Public Works. And tonight I'm bringing forward the courthouse covered parking project with a recommendation for award. The Lake Havasu City Municipal Courthouse requested that the Public Works Department evaluate and for a feasibility of adding covered parking to the courthouse parking lot. The Public Works Department identified 3 potential locations for the covered parking structure installation. These 3 parking structures will provide covered parking for a total of 19 vehicles. The project will enhance the functionality and the municipal court's parking lot by providing shelter and protection from the desert's harsh climate. The court enhancement funds have been budgeted in fiscal year 26 to 30 in the capital improvement plan. Funds for the project are allocated and available in the fiscal year 25-26. So in the top left, you see the location where we would propose to put the 3 covered parking structures. And then down in the bottom right is an example of what one of these structures might look like. So the schedule would be that we've already opened bids. We went out to bid. We opened bids on May 7th, 2025. The timeline, this project, they're going to design the parking structures, design and engineer them by the contractor. So that would be completed by the end of July 2025. And then construction would start with about a 45-day construction timeline to be completed mid to end of September 2025. The recommendation is I move to award the bid for the construction of the covered courthouse parking to Seaton Parks Construction, LLC, in the amount of $117,319. So at that time, I would ask if you've got any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Are there any questions, members of the council? Mr. Porter? Councilmember Campbell, then we'll go to Councilmember Diaz.
So, can you go back to that picture where you were showing us where we were going to put these? And in this, was there any asphalt updating, or better yet, there should be concrete? My recommendation would be concrete underneath these, because it's very difficult for a paver to get underneath these structures once they're up in place. It's quite complicated. And so my question would be, are we doing anything with the asphalt at this time? And or we putting concrete underneath these fixtures, these shades?
So the way the bid was, the way the advertisement went out was that the contractor would saw cut and just open up where they're going to put their caissons or footings for these structures. Any asphalt damage would be patched back. So to answer the question, no, we're not updating the parking lot at this time, and we're not removing the asphalt to pour concrete under them. We did something a little bit different than another project where we've got issues getting a paver underneath, which is what you mentioned. And we did on the lowest clearance, we called out for 7 foot 6 inches, which would put you about 8'6" to the purlins, the C channels. So with that being said, I believe that we would still be able to get a paver under there.
That's usually hand tooled. All of that would have to be hand tooled, is what I've been told. And yes, I do live with an expert, so he does tell me that's a big problem. When we saw this come up, I was very, very concerned that that parking lot is already in a failed condition as far as I'm concerned. And I've been told that we have great people in the Public Works Department that can do great handwork. This is something that we can give direction to possibly look into, making sure that there's concrete underneath those so that's not a problem later.
Yes, we can look into that.
Thank you.
Councilmember Diaz.
Quick question. Are these, just for general knowledge, are these going to be designated in employee parking space, or just first come, first serve?
So these spaces are all reserved spaces. Typically court staff is what would be using these spaces.
And I've also, okay, thank you. And I also noticed, as I travel around the area, I noticed some other municipalities where they do something like this. They actually put solar on top of these. Maybe something down the road we could look at. Solar for, energy purposes. So not on this one, but down the road.
Yeah, no, it does offer opportunities for the future. Mm-hmm. We have solar projects at the Aquatic Center, at City Hall, that are very similar. All right. Any other questions or comments from members of the council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Councilmember
I
Dolan.
have a question. Because I'm a little concerned about the funding of this when we need the parking lots, but I saw it came from how is this funded? It comes from the court funds or something that only can be used? Can someone give me an explanation of that? Because I guess my concern is this isn't really for the public. It's more for our staff, which is great, but we all park in the sun, and if the money can go to the parking lot, to me, that would seem like a more overall use. But if it's something through the court funds and it can only be used on, so I guess that's my question is how can an explanation of the funds and how can they be used?
Yeah, Mr. Knudsen.
Mayor, Councilmember Dolan, certainly Mr. Porter's doing his finest and trying to respond to some of these questions, but he's been kind of asked to take the lead on the bidding and the procurement and the installation of parking structures at the request coming from courts. So this was a project that was requested by Judge Kalali and the courts team, and to put up covered shade parking in this parking lot. It's tied to court enhancement funds, and there is some flexibility in terms of what how those dollars can be spent. But I don't see anybody here from courts to specifically identify how those funds could be used, if a parking lot would be one of those uses or not. I apologize. I don't know. But, our courts team would have the answer to that, and then we can circle back or whatever the council's pleasure on that too.
Is it a general fund? Is it something from the court system, fees?
So it's a court enhancements funds. So these are funds that come from the state for specific type of uses. I'm told that the dollars are flexible, and I'm told that they can be used for a variety of different reasons to support the court operations. But I don't have the specifics of court enhancement funds and how they're utilized. But there's funds that come from the state for specific purposes.
It's earmarked for the court, and the court wants us. Okay, that makes a little more sense. I feel a little better about that. Thank you.
This item, it's been in our CIP for the last 2 years. So it was programmed for, I started talking about it last year, obviously when this building opened, and then this would then be going into effect in July 1 with the budget that we've been discussing now.
Mayor and Mr. Porter, can we can approve this the way it is, and is there a possibility that we can look into getting an amended scope of work that could include possibly the concrete underneath that can come back to council before you move forward, or is this not feasible?
So what was allocated for this project was $125,000. So I can't speak to if they can, come up with the additional funds for concrete replacement.
Yeah, so if we approve this right now, we're approving the project as is. They can take a look and see if there's any other monies available, but it would not guarantee that concrete would be placed underneath these shade structures.
Okay. But I hope you guys are hearing me clear. Mr. Porter, would you agree with me that would probably be our best application, or not really at this point?
Yes, for long term, that would be a great idea. I don't know, from a construction standpoint, what the additional cost would be if the concrete was done before the structures went in versus demo of the asphalt at a later date and then pouring back the concrete in place of the asphalt at that point in time. I don't know if there's a whole lot of additional cost savings to do it now.
I can see where you're going with that later, if we had to cut it out, but we would have to do concrete under. That's what we're having a problem with every, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Knutson, that we're having these issues with these parking shade structures and getting the asphalt repaved underneath them. Is this what you're hearing as well?
Sure. Mayor, Councilmember Campbell, certainly. So it's clearance, right? So you have a shade structure that's up. It's hard to get a paving machine underneath the shade structure and causing some concerns. So alluded to the solar panels that are at City Hall parking lot, down at the Parks and Recreation facility. And it's difficult, other than having a mini paver, which we don't have access to get a paver underneath the shade structures, which causes problems.
And again, I have heard even with the mini pavers, that there was a lot of hand tooling in some of the places that we've had to go, and it really makes the job a lot more difficult all the way across the board. So thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions before we open the public hearing? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this item? Just make way to the podium and state your name for the record.
Good evening, Bonnie Toy, Mayor, City Council. My question is, if you pass it tonight, after listening to you guys ask the questions you asked, if you pass it, you're passing it as is, right? That means that there won't be any changes going forward without adding to the budget. And already, if I heard correctly, that's already over budget before it even starts, because someone just said it was at 125,000 for the budget originally, and that one is at 138,000. So you're already, did I hear that incorrectly?
Yeah, what's in front of us today is shade structures for covered parking in the amount of $117,319.
I thought it said 138.
With a budget of 125.
Oh, okay.
This is 22, that it's not uncommon for us to do change orders if we deem necessary later after the direction of the council.
And then would the change order have to come back to the council?
It depends on what the amount is of the change.
Yeah.
So in our procurement code, there's requirements of the percentage of the change. If it's over a certain percentage, it would have to come back to council. Otherwise, it can be done through our staff.
And then why wasn't the solar panels thought of immediately? Like, why not just do that without even thinking about it in this day and age? I was just curious about that one.
Sure. Yeah, it was a really big project when we did the solar at the community center and at City Hall, and it with the court enhancements funds and what the request was coming from the courts, that those avenues did not intersect.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the city council on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion. All right, Councilmember Diaz.
I move to award the bid of the courthouse covered parking project to CISA and Parks Construction LLC in the amount of $117,319.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Diaz, a second from Councilmember Dolan. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Vice Mayor Lynn.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Item 7.5 is bid for hot mix and cold mix asphalt products to Campbell Ready Mix for fiscal years 2025 through 2030.
Mayor, I will be recusing.
Thank you, Councilmember Campbell. We're recusing for this item, and we welcome Mr. Young.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we're asking to award the bid to Campbell Ready Mix for our asphalt. Each year we use approximately 1,500 to 2,000 tons of hot mix and 1,000 to 1,500 tons of cold mix, depending on what size the patches are and the destruction of our streets. And this year it went out to bid for a 5-year term, and Campbell got the bid. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Are there any questions from members of the council for Mr. Young? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion. All right, Councilmember Diaz.
I move to award the bid for fiscal years 2025 to 30 hot mix and cold mix asphalt materials to Campbell Ready Mix, authorized routine annual expenditures exceeding the threshold but not to exceed the annual departmental budgets for the duration of the agreement and all renewals, and authorize city staff to exercise the annual renewal options throughout the agreement term.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Diaz, a second from Councilmember Dolan. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Vice Mayor Lynn.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries with 6 council members voting aye and 1 council member recusal.
Thank you. Item 7.6 is bid for ready mix concrete products to Campbell Ready Mix for fiscal years 2025 to 2030. Mr. Young?
Mayor, recuse.
Okay, Councilmember Campbell's going to recuse herself from this item as well.
Again, each year we go out to bid with concrete. We use anywhere from 2,500 to 3,000 square yards a year, depending on what repairs we have to make or new concrete we put in. This year, for the 5-year term, Campbell came in and won that bid as well. And we'd like to ask your approval to award it to them. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Are there questions for members of the council to Mr. Young? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Dolan.
Motion.
Please.
I move to award the bid for fiscal years 2025 to 2030. Oh, that sounds weird. Ready Mix concrete products to Campbell Ready Mix. Authorize routine expenditures exceeding the threshold but not to exceed the annual departmental budgets for the duration of the agreement and all renewals, and authorize city staff to exercise the annual renewal options throughout the agreement term.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Dolan, a second from Councilmember Diaz. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Vice Mayor Lynn.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries with 6 council members voting aye and 1 council member recusal.
Thank you. Item 7.7 is expenditures exceeding the threshold for job order cooperative purchase agreements for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning contractors, services, and parts utilizing Mojave County's job order contracts previously awarded to Mesa Energy Systems DBA MCOR Services, Air Control Home Services, and Ambient Edge LLC. Mr. Young?
Again, going out to bid here with the JOC and would like you to accept this cooperative contract for us. We have over 278 HVAC units in the city that we have to maintain each year, and we try to replace a certain amount each year as well, which usually ends up well over 100,000 by the time we do 10 to 15 units. And this JOC provides us with lots of opportunity to get things done a lot faster than we have in the past. So with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Are there questions from members of the council for Mr. Young? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion. Yeah, Councilmember Diaz.
Just a quick question. So this is going to exceed our annual, our threshold of $100,000.
That would be the authorization we're giving. Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Moses, did you have?
I'll make a motion.
Please.
I move to approve the annual expenditures exceeding the threshold, not to exceed the approved annual budget under the cooperative job order contract purchase agreements with Mesa Energy Systems DBA MCOR Services, Air Control Home Services, and Ambient Edge LLC for HVAC maintenance, minor repair, and replacement services for the remainder of the fiscal year 2024-25 and for each subsequent fiscal year for the duration of the agreements.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Moses, a second from Councilmember Dolan. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Vice Mayor Lynn?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Young. Item 7.8 is design parameters for the professional design of an outdoor pool to be constructed at the Aquatic Center. Good evening, Mr. Hart.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. It's great to be here with you tonight and talk to you about an exciting project in our CIP. This is the Aquatic Center Outdoor Pool Project, and I'm here to specifically talk to you about our RFSQ design parameters. As a reminder, our city does have a beautiful aquatic center in the southwest corner of the city, down near Rotary Park and near the intersection of Mulberry and the State Highway. In our aquatic center site, we have a proposed outdoor pool location, which is directly south of the current indoor pool area. If you were to walk out the main back doors, you would see a grassy area, which is what I'm showing right here. So you would come out, and that first view is the view looking west if you were to go to the corner of that property, and then the view looking east, a nice area that's just waiting for an outdoor pool to be built there. The RF scope kind of introductions here. The project includes a design of one 25-yard competition pool or a pool. The pool dimensions will be 25 yards, which is 75 feet long, and 20 yards, which is 60 feet wide. The parameter is 270 feet in total. The surface area is 4,500 square feet. The capacity volume is 197,000 gallons. The pool shall be designed with a 9-foot depth on one end where the diving into will occur. That will transition out and then immediately slope up to the center of the pool where it will achieve a 4-foot depth, and then from that point on be 4 feet all the way over to the other end. The design turnover rate will be 547 gallons per minute with a 6-hour turnover. And the pool will have a deck level gutter system with a surge capacity held in the gutter. Some of the design parameters so that the City Council has an understanding of what it is when we go out to look for an RFSQ, which is request for a statement of qualifications from potential design firms to design this. We'll be looking for a schematic design, and under this task, the consultant shall perform code review, a layout of the pool and deck, some preliminary hydraulic calculations, mechanical filtration and sanitation, design, equipment room design, which we are hoping to use the existing equipment room with a little bit of modification, some preliminary cross sections, and then looking into some time systems, possible additive alternates. Should we have them, and some other items. The second will be the design development itself. The consultant will kind of narrow down the layout of the pool and the equipment, begin to finalize the hydraulic calculations, the load calculations, and the MP&E consultant coordination, the mechanical and electrical, the piping systems, the underwater lighting, the sanitation equipment, and the structural engineering component of this. Another parameter will be construction documentation, in which they'll be utilizing the site survey and layout of the pool, doing final load calculations and MPE consultant equipment and piping flow diagrams for the final, a 3D schematic of the equipment room so that we can make sure that everything fits as we see it on paper. Sometimes it looks good on paper, but when you put it in a model, it brings things evident. Then final schematics on the horizontal and vertical sections, final specs and plan package. Some of the miscellaneous stuff they'll be performing is written specifications showing the product information for the Construction Specification Institute's master format division, which 13 items will be noted on the plan sheets related to that. Sections for the qualifications, submittals, shotcrete, waterproofing, tiling, interior finish, and fabrications will be book version specs. And then the health department permit application, and assemble the appropriate sheets needed for the submittal. Our timeline should we move forward with the RFSQ, would we like to start advertising June 4th? We would advertise for the minimum of 3 weeks, with submittals being received on June 25th. We'd like to interview those consultants that we select. Typically, we select 3. The week of June 30th, then we would negotiate a design contract cost, because it's as part of the RFSQ format. We're not allowed to talk about cost. We can only focus on qualifications. And then City Council deadline would be July 8th, so that we could present here a contract for design on July 22nd. Proposed pool layout, the one that I brought here tonight, is the 25-yard by 20-yard 8-lane pool. I know there's been discussion on 25 meter. However, 25 yards is typically what we see with our pools when we're talking high school or even college competition level. And then the 20 yards wide, the 60 feet, that allows us to fit within the current parameters of the facility there. With a budget of $2.5 million, we're trying to look in every way that we can how to save dollars, and this is one way. By going with the 25 yard, you'll note there in this picture an underground sewer line that comes out of the facility. The 25 meters pushes us into that, and so we're trying to stay out of that. If you have any questions, I would try to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Are there questions from members of the council?
Yes.
Yeah. Councilmember Campbell?
Thank you. The way I'm reading this is still just for design. This is not a design build RFQ. It's just request for qualifications for a designer.
That is correct. It is just a design consultant.
And what I have seen on here is that it looks like that pool is very, very close to the building as well, the windows. And some of the design concepts that we had looked at we might had to go into the parking lot a little bit. And I don't see anything in this design to show a fence. Am I missing something?
If we back up here, you'll see that in this particular design layout, we went with 8 lanes, which at 7.5 feet per lane is 60 feet. And then the typical standard width of a deck on a pool like this is 10 feet. So we were able to achieve the 60-foot width for the 8 lanes, and then 10 foot for each deck, and leaves us actually a couple of feet prior to this wall right here. If you see this wall, so we do not get into the wall. We're able to stay inside the perimeters.
And when you get into the construction portion of it, Is that wall going to have to come? What kind of fencing is that? Is that
Masonry, if I recall right.
okay? So they'll have to. Okay. So the last time our recommendations, or even the item that I requested to put on the agenda, was basically to be a design build, so that the designer and the builder, many contractors in pool business, are capable of doing all this scope of work, including the build. We veered off of that again, and we're not interested in going that direction, is what it sounds like.
We were asked.
Yeah, no, I think we are. I mean, we're doing a request for qualification. So if someone comes through and they're able to do the design and the build, like that will be part of the process. Maybe Mr. Hart, do you want to talk about what that process would be when you go through the selection committee to be able to move forward with the negotiation?
Yes, that would be one of the items we'd be looking at that could carry through with the actual construction. There's advantageous, obviously, to have a consultant that's typically involved in the construction of these as well. This size of a pool, you don't often see that, from what I understand, but there could be companies out there that can do that.
Thank you.
Are there other questions, members of the council? Yeah, Councilmember Diaz.
So there's this consultant that we might be hiring is part of this 2.5 million.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so this is what we're doing tonight is we're going through, just because there has been so much focus on this particular project, is we're looking at a request for qualifications from folks that can do this work, go through that process. And then on the July 22nd meeting, as I believe what I saw on this slide, will be for consideration of council to then hire that. And if that's design build, and we don't know what comes until the qualifications and the selection committee meets, but the idea is to be able to make sure that the council is fully informed of how this is going forward, but we're doing qualifications, requests for qualifications. So any local vendor, any vendor that is in this business can have the opportunity to bid on the design and build of this. So this is not a usual thing that happens where we are involved in looking at RFQs or requests for qualifications, but in this particular circumstance we are, because there is so much focus and attention from the council on this item.
So it's safe to say that the pool builder that we hire could do all this stuff if they're capable. Because I mean, I've had a few pools built, and I've also talked to other pool builders, and they do all this work as part of their cost of building your pool.
Yeah, which is fantastic. So we have to follow the procurement laws. So if they fill out, they go through this process and submit for the request for qualifications. The selection committee meets with them and determines whatever the recommendation is going to be to council. Then yes, that could be the case. But right now it's about qualifications of.
I just don't. I want to be really clear. I'm not in favor of paying if it turns out we're going to pay a consultant money to do this, and then we're going to pay a pool builder. But I see what you're saying. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell, did you have another comment?
I agree that I wish that we could have incorporated the design build, let them know part of the request for qualification means you have to do all of this, plus we want you to build the pool. Are we doing this and then it's all going out to bid then? To pool builders then?
Yeah, typically in this process, when we do an RFSQ, we're looking for a design consultant who can design us a pool. And then we get to a point where we have plans and specs and we go out to bid on another contractor. If during the qualification component of it appears evident that the current design consultant could possibly build a pool, I think that's something we should look at.
And how do you change that once the RFQ doesn't state that in the scope of work?
Well, we can either add it as a note, or when you secure a design contract, it can be part of the negotiations, I would believe.
What I heard from community members, and I think we're going to hear from some more here today, that they really would feel that if they're a local and they could do, not that we have to go to anybody, to all the requests for qualifications aren't just locally owned, but I will tell you that a lot of them would like to have their name on the whole process. I've heard that over and over and over and over, and that was the direction to putting the item on the agenda. I thought that was the direction we're going. So I'm a little shocked right now that it's just for design. And I was wondering if we could possibly add that if the rest of the council agrees with that. But I'd love to hear from the people if they agree that we should probably incorporate this into a complete design build like I thought we were doing. But
Are there any other questions or comments from members of the council before we open the public hearing?
Just to clarify, so it's my understanding that, if there is a pool builder in town that can design and build, they can submit to this and they can be like, yeah, I can design this, I can do that. And in the process, and if they're a pool builder, then they'd be a part of that process. And so, that's kind of what we're doing is my understanding is that because if we have a pool builder that can't do the design, can't do the 3D layouts, can't do that, well, then that's not what we need because we need to fit it into our existing aquatic center and do all that too. So we may have a builder that maybe doesn't meet those standards, but could still build a pool. But if we have someone that can do both, great. They're considered in that process as well. And then when it comes to the build, we can also look at who the local contractors are. And if that fits and they have the qualifications, we could choose them for that process as well. So to me, it sounds like we still have that option. It's all inclusive. It's just, yeah. So it is there. To my understanding. If I understand that right. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Vice Mayor Lynn.
Yeah, I think I'm confused too. So I know we have to hire a consultant to find us a pool builder. And how much is a consultant? Do we know what that even looks like?
Yeah. So no, what's in front of us right now is not a financial commitment at all. It's finding a company we're working to get a request for qualifications of somebody that can design the pool. So we know exactly what it is. So we know what the cost is going to be. As has been indicated by some of our colleagues on the council, they've built private backyard pools and that's all part of the process where you have your pool builder also does all the specifications. That flexibility would be here based on the outcomes of whoever submits for requests for qualifications in this scenario as well. We won't have any financial commitment until July 22nd when a recommendation from the selection committee is brought before the city council for us to have a discussion about who submitted. So, right now it's like lots of hypothetical. We could have, until someone goes through the state procurement process that we're required to follow, we don't know. So hypothetically, the qualifications that are submitted could be somebody that can design and build a pool. That negotiation would happen and that recommendation would come before us on July 22nd. Or no one submits that and they only submit, hey, we're going to design the pool. And we say, okay, and it's going to be whatever the negotiated price is. Obviously, council would have to support that. That would come out of the budget. And then from there, we'd say to pool builders, this is what the specs are, and we need a pool built to these specifications. So it's a little bit different than us building a backyard pool because of our procurement code, but that's what we're looking to do right now. So there's no financial commitment. It's the process to begin so that we can get the design for it. And if it becomes a design build, great. If it becomes just a design, okay, we'll talk about it then. If it's, we just don't know until we get folks that are going to submit to that process. Does that clarify it for you?
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I just didn't want to go and hire another consultant for a job that I just didn't want to hire a pool consultant to consult us on what we need. So yes, that makes 100%. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Campbell?
Mayor, I will. Everything that was in that scope, that qualification for design, anybody that can build that pool, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know of one contractor that does that level of pool that doesn't have their own design services or possibly could. I know that they go out for structural engineering. They'll go out, anybody will do that. Any designer or architect will not only do the designs, but they will send it out and get whatever they need. So I thought we were going to do a complete design build package. So whoever gets the project has the joy at the end to say, yes, I know what your budget is. I'm trying to stay within your budget. I'm not going to design a bunch of things into it that aren't within the budget because we don't care because the consultant gets their money and then they leave. And then we put it out to bid and then the contractor gets it and says, here's the bid is really high because this guy designed so many things. We've talked about it in the courthouse, they put the water fountains in it and the squirting gold swans and all the things. And now the contractor has to bid that out. And so again, I am just asking that the community members have really reached out to me to make sure that the RFP does include somebody that can actually be the one that does the pool as well. And then that whole price would come to us as one, and hopefully they will stay within the budget that we have. But again, that's my final statement.
Thank you. All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council?
Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Lynn?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I have one last question. When he was putting up all the slides up there and he had all the design perimeters, like, how, I hate to ask this, but how did he get those? Like, how did he know what to ask for in those perimeters? Like, are we sure we're not missing something?
Yeah, Mr. Hart?
No, that's a fair question. I wish I could tell you I was really smart and I just know everything about pool design, but that's not the case. So in our research, the capital programs team, we reached out to various pool companies and we're looking at the design parameters that are used on other pools, municipalities. And with that, we whittled some of them away and the ones that were pertinent we kept. So.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because I did speak to a couple different pool people too, and just, they have this is what they do. So they had huge lists of things. So I don't want us to miss something. And later on, they come back and say, well, you needed this, and we didn't have it as one of our perimeters that we need. So I just want to make sure there's some flexibility there, I'm assuming, if they come back and say, hey,
Yes,
you guys are going to need this too. Okay.
Yes, we do.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
And in our packet, it's 4 double-sided pages too. So it's pretty complex. All right, this is a public hearing. You don't have to sign up for public hearings, but we did have Mr. Steve Reed sign up, so we'll start there. And then anyone else, just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
How you guys doing? My name's Steve Reed. I'm here on behalf of Sandcastle Pools. I think we're here today to offer our help. I did listen to your last meeting, and I heard some numbers for design, and I think as Sandcastle Pools, being a pool builder for 20 years in town, we felt like it was our duty to step in to ensure that the community's money is getting spent in a way that we aren't being taken advantage of. So that's the purpose of us being here today. And I'd like to start by talking about a little bit of my background. I've been a committed pool builder for 22 years. It's all I've done. I have multiple certifications. I'm actually a certified foreman. I'm certified in major renovations. I've taken hydraulic classes through Watershape University, geotech classes. I'm very knowledgeable with what you guys are doing. I've never built a competition pool, but I know what goes into it. I did some research. I reached out to one of my mentors and probably one of the most well-respected professionals in the industry. A reasonable design cost for this swimming pool is about $25,000 to $30,000. This would be full hydraulic specs, all your pool equipment, how things will fit, 3D renderings, the envelope of the floor. With a competition pool, one thing is everything has to be very accurate. You have to be precise with every dimension. This would be a build-ready set of plans, ready to submit to ADEQ with all the math done. In the last meeting, I did hear that Guy Reynolds had a list of, what he would like to see in the pool equipment room. And he listed that he wanted DE filters that were what the Aquatic Center currently uses. UV system, natural gas heaters, automated chemistry, vacuums. All this is doable. I really do think that you should give the community an opportunity. I think we can handle it, and we can make sure that you guys aren't, you're getting a reasonable bid to do the design process, the build process, and executing this project in a way where you can save money. And that's why we're here today.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Yeah.
So we would love for you to submit one of the RFSQs for this process. We can't just handpick local vendors versus other vendors. So I encourage you to participate in this process, and we would love nothing more than for someone local to be the successful person.
Absolutely. So one thing I did want to offer up just as a gift to the community, I see this rendering here. I'd like to give you guys a professional rendering of what this would actually look like, just as a gift from Sandcastle. And we could prepare this in a way that the board can see actually what this would look like in a much more professional way. And also as a way on behalf of the whole community, not just Sandcastle Pools, to showcase that we do have the talent here in town to do this. So I would like to do that as a gift.
No, thank you. You have to go through that process. We're not allowed to take gifts. We're not allowed to do those things. So we encourage you to participate through the process when the RFSQ is there. And again, we'd love nothing more than for a local vendor. Yeah, Mr. Knudsen.
Yeah, if I can, thanks for stepping up and coming to the podium. Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Absolutely.
In terms of like the way this is set up for design, you mentioned that's something that you think you'll be able to approach. Does it make sense? And I'm not asking because you're with Sandcastle, but I'm going to ask you as a representative of the local pool builders in town, right? Because we can't just identify you or trying to
yes, I understand
just for you, or
right?
But the local with a lot of talent in this community. The way it's set up right now in terms of requesting design, is that something that you think that you could submit a proposal for?
Absolutely. So with that, you have to understand there are things that need to be done to complete a full design. And a huge part of that is going to be soils. So existing soils reports, this is a massive pool. You got a lot of weight. It's the foundation of engineering. And without that and those values, it can't really, there isn't an engineer out there that will, sign off on it.
No, I appreciate that. Just trying to get understanding. You mentioned never built the commercial pool before, but built a lot of pools.
No, yeah, we have built commercial pools. We actually just
is that what, I'm sorry,
yeah, competition pool. Yes.
I apologize. I know, but you built a lot of pools,
right?
In Lake Havasu. Just trying to get a better understanding of how we can maybe tap into the local talent in the community. So, so the way it's set up right now with the design is something that you feel comfortable submitting with, or
yes, absolutely. We just finished the community pool at the Riviera. The process would be the exact same.
Can I ask it? So did you submit a design and then come back with construction, or did you do it all at once?
I did it all at once. So design consultants for swimming pools, I think you have to know who you're dealing with. You can get good ones and bad ones. And I mean, my personal opinion, I think it's wise to have a swimming pool professional choose the consultant if they need to, because we understand what is good and what is bad in terms of quality of construction. There's multiple ways to get things done. You can do things that will pass ADEQ that aren't necessarily the best way of doing it, that are going to make that pool operate the best way for, in terms of energy and just the overall functionality. So that is my personal opinion.
Appreciate that. And then, and just in terms of like you mentioned, like a gift with the rendering, if save that for the proposal, right? You don't want to send it separately. Receiving gifts from somebody that's going to submit a bid, but if you submit that as part of the proposal, that would be wonderful.
Absolutely.
Mayor. So am I hearing you correctly that you do believe that we should add to the scope of work, including the build of the pool?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Reed. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right. That concludes those speakers that have signed up. But anyone else that would like to address us on this item, please make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
My name is Emiliano Torres. I'm a resident. One issue that doesn't seem to be addressed is the labor that's going to be required after this pool is built. Does Park and Recs have in their budget the addition for lifeguards? I'd hate to see this pool built and then fenced off unused because they don't have the budget for additional lifeguards, because this is going to be a separate pool from the structure. And second, because you're discussing having a consultant, I built 2 pools for my home, backyard pools, great pools, very happy with them. But as I sit there with the pool, I look at it and go, I wish I had a consultant. There were so many things we could have done better. And in fact, during the pool, we went way over budget because we didn't have a consultant tell us there was a huge rock right where we were going to build the pool. So we went way over budget. So perhaps a consultant's not a bad idea. Thank you very much.
We have taken into account the operating costs as well. And this location's ideal because we have some synergies between current staffing and operations. But thank you. Would anyone else like to address the City Council on this item?
Bonnie. Hi, Mayor. What is the RFSQ stand for?
Yeah, Mr. Hart.
Stands for Request for a Statement of Qualifications.
Statement of Qualifications. And then the RFP is Request for Proposals.
Correct.
So the process is you go through the Request for Qualifications and then Request for Proposals? Okay.
No.
No?
No.
Not usually?
No, we do a request for a statement of qualifications, and then we select the consultant, if you will, and then we negotiate contract. So there's no going back out for a request for a proposal.
We're picking the person that, based on their qualifications, that meet the specifications that are outlined in the package. And Mr. Hart reviewed those at the beginning of his presentation.
Yeah. Yes.
And they're also available on the website in its entirety.
Yes, they are. I noticed that the pool is designed to be a competitive pool, which is really great. I love pools. Pools are amazing. Swimming is a great gift, and if anybody is able to swim, you should swim all the time. Perfect backyard is a 50-foot deep Olympic-sized swimming pool. Don't need grass, just the pool. The square of the pool that was up there, is it handicap accessible? Because you people are getting old.
It will meet all the ADA requirements.
How will it be handicap accessible for somebody to be able to use it? Is it more than just a competitive pool? Will it be designed for people to use it as a lap pool, be able to walk into it and not have to worry about climbing up, climbing down? That's kind of an issue.
It's going to be a multi-use pool, so to be available for multiple different types of uses in the pool, with an idea for a competitive pool. As far as where's the ADA features going to be, you are way ahead of us. But once we have this person on the qualifications scheduled, then they'll be sure to outline that for us. But it'll meet all ADA requirements.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Rick Wheeler with the Havasu Stingrays. I know you guys all cringed when I walked in the door. I'll be nice today, I promise. Just a couple things, Mayor, City Council members. I want to thank you guys for the work that you guys are doing on this project, to see it come through and to continue to move forward with it. There's just a few things that I want you to know what we're doing. What we've done is we've set up a committee I got about 10 people from the community, between business owners, lap swimmers, a Stingray parent, whatnot. I don't know if they want to. They're not all here tonight, but there are some in the audience. If y'all want to stand up and introduce yourselves, that's okay. If not, that's okay too. But anyways, I just wanted to let you know that we are working with the city as well, with Anthony and Jerry as well, to get some stuff going on social media as far as how much the pool right now is being utilized by all the different groups. And we're trying to put something together so we can start bringing that out on social media and start getting really the community involved in this project. The other thing, two other things. One, is I came across these grants that I didn't have time. I printed them, but I didn't have time. I wanted to share with you guys some grant opportunity possibilities. If you guys can maybe look into these. One is a pretty good sized grant with the Land and Water Conservation Fund. And then there's about 4 or 5 other small ones that I don't know if you guys got a grant writer, I'm assuming. You guys can maybe look into that and possibly, let us know how those are going, if there's any possibility with that, because I do know pools are expensive. The last thing I'm going to say is I met this morning with the pool builder, and we went through and basically laid out a 25-yard, 10-lane pool with the pool deck, the deck space, everything on it, with the office and the storage and all of that stuff. And I wish I had the picture to show you all what that looked like, but that was absolutely beautiful. And I want to say that in a way that, thank you, Jason, for the rendering that you did with an 8-lane pool. When you put 10 feet on one side and 10 feet on the other side, you have basically a pop-up tent size to try to, and I'm going to go at it right now as from an aquatic swim meet side of it. You got 300 kids on the pool deck, and you got 10 feet on one side, 10 feet on the other side, or you have a high school swim meet. It's the same thing. You're very cramped in space. So what we did is we went out 20 feet on the side from the building out to the edge of the pool to a 10-lane pool, and then we had 20 feet out there. Yes, we went out into the parking lot, but when I look at it from a competition side of it, you could have a nice fold-up 3-tier bleacher on the side. You can fold them up and put them away. From a community side of it, you have all that deck space on that side, this side, the end of it, to be able to put chairs and tables, some awnings for people to actually go out there during the not 125-degree weather, but go out there in 80-degree weather, sit outside, have conversation, and watch their kids in the pool while they're swimming. So that would be a good benefit to have it a little bit wider, because this is kind of going to be, when this pool is done, we can't add anything else because we're going to run out of space. Because if we get, can't remember what the capacity is of the pool right now, but I've been in there on open swim, and that thing's a zoo. Going to be the same with the open swim on an outdoor pool too. This can be very cramped in the space that is allotted for the 10-foot on each side. So that's all I would say on that. I mean, I appreciate 8-lane pool, 10-lane pool, but just more so the deck space on the outside to make it more inviting for parents to take their kids, hang out for an hour, couple hours in the sun, chatting while their kids are in the pool swimming. So again, I thank you guys for the work you've done on it. We look forward to continuing to do our side of it. And like I said, if I can maybe send these to Kelly.
Yeah, please just you can give them to Ms. Williams. Yeah, and she'll make sure that it gets to the grants department. Yeah, thank you for sharing your perspective. That's really good feedback on the deck space as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell.
Mr.
Wheeler.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell has a question for you.
I really appreciate you bringing up the deck space. That was my biggest concern too, because when you get a bunch of kids around a pool, or parents watching or putting up tents because it's swim season. The other question I was concerned about when I asked I couldn't remember what the wall was, but what I've figured out in the past is when you have block walls around a lot of swimming pool and the sun, would you recommend a block wall around that pool?
What we did with that design today, we did I think it was a 4-foot block wall, and then we went a 6 or like a 2-foot wrought iron.
Okay.
Kind of looked through it, and again, it looked really nice from a peripheral perspective.
Mm-hmm.
To keep people out of it, definitely wall it in. Right? If you can't see it, you don't know what it is behind the wall.
Okay.
But again, it's just kind of like, what do we, from a visual perspective, I really like the wrought iron around certain spots of it. And then obviously on the back side of it, on the parking lot on, let's see, this side, I guess, where the blocks would be basically placed, you would need a block wall because of just safety for kids.
Yes.
When they're diving in and whatnot, you don't want that. That's just a competitive side. It has nothing to do with anything else. That's what I would recommend, a block wall on that one, but the rest of it could be a half and half, just depending on the design and the cost of doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else like to address the City Council on this item?
Hello, my name is Kirsten Ferrante. I'm a community member and also a regular lap swimmer, and I'm also part of the committee that Rick mentioned that's following up on the whole pool design and build. So I know we kind of mentioned like an 8-lane pool, and I just wanted to emphasize that we don't have any other lap pools in our city. We don't have gym pools. We don't have anything like that. So I don't want us to be short-sighted. If we want to ever start a water polo team, we do need enough lanes and depth in the pool to accommodate that. At the same time, like Bonnie was saying, we also want it to be handicap accessible. So you want a shallow end and a deep end. That said, as part of the committee, Rick mentioned we're trying to get more like community involvement, more maybe social media outreach, things like that, which is great. We've been asked to do this to try and fundraise also. The thing is, we don't know what we're fundraising for. We don't know how much this is going to cost. Like, okay, we can fundraise, but we don't know what we need. We don't know what the pool cost as it is, just a plain pool. So we've been asking to get a timeline for the project. Like, when do we expect to get all of the, RFSP, whatever it was. When do we expect to get all of those in? When do we expect to get designs in? Like, just a regular project timeline so we can help if we need to, when we finally know, like, okay, this is what it's going to cost, then we can go out and try to raise funds. And we just don't know what we're working with, and we're trying to get those answers. So do we know when we're going to have a timeline at least?
So the timeline, this is part of it. So depending on how we move forward with this currently, as was presented this evening, is that the last week of June is when a selection committee would meet with anyone that has responded to the RFSQ. And then it will be negotiated in the first couple of weeks of July for consideration for the council on July 22nd. At that point, we would just know more to be able to put together a full timeline of when it would happen, as far as the construction timeline, the cost involved, some of those aspects of it. So mid-July would be more helpful to be able to provide some timelines for your fundraising efforts.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for Jason. I know we did with the building here. We had the design, but we had, options. We could add this, we could add that. Of course, I'd love a 10-lane in doing all those things we did, but a lot of it comes down to what that final dollar is, and can we afford it? If we can't, then we do the 8. And so without knowing those levels, of course, I do like the idea of a local pool. A lot of times, most of the local companies can do better competitive wise because they're not bringing their whole crew here and housing them and transportation and all that. So can we do something like that with that option to where we can see what this option is? And then as the bids come in and they're local contractors or if they're designing them, then we have that ability to make that decision as a council. Yeah, because I really like to see the 10 and see that layout, but if we can't afford it, then what do we go from there? So I guess we can add those options to the.
Well, maybe we talk about, it seems like a lot of the conversation we've had from members of the council and the public is, is there a way to do that design build and just make sure that we all have the same page? Mr. Knutz, I don't know, maybe if you could speak to that or what our options might be from that perspective.
Yeah, Mayor, appreciate that. A couple of things. One, I think kind of the first step is we want to listen to the local pool builders and try to identify some of the local expertise. It's my recommendation that we go with a true design build approach and what that looks like. We're kind of taking a gamble or a risk on our local pool builders, but I think it's worthwhile. And when you have a design build type of approach, is anybody out there that doesn't have that design expertise then is kind of removed from the process, if you will. But if we solicit bids and get proposals back and what that looks like from a design build, and it doesn't work out, then that doesn't paint us in a corner that we can't maneuver and try something different. But I think my recommendation on the staff side would be a true design build approach. With that said, Councilmember Dolan, 100% the approach here we're taking on this one is an add alternate. So 8 lanes versus 10 lanes. We'll have a little bit of a menu and cost. We also had some equipment in there in terms of like scoreboards and timers and whatever else too. That's all going to be an add alternate. So if there's dollars available, we can take a look at that. If the budget doesn't allow, then we wouldn't. And that's maybe a great opportunity, Coach Wheeler and your team in terms of fundraising. So there you go. Scoreboards, timing machines, and things like that to add towards the project would be wonderful. So, but that's the recommendation coming from staff. Kind of want to jump in there and what that looks like. And then lastly, if I can, the RF, SQ and RFP and all this other stuff that's out there in terms of the approach. This is not an approach that the city has identified as the best possible way for us to go solicit design and solicit pool contractors. It's a pretty terrible approach when it comes to soliciting pool builders and design and building a pool. State statute tells us that's the only way that we can, in terms of the process and what that looks like. So keep that in mind. We do really good things sometimes despite state statute and procurement laws that are out there. They're put into place for justifiable reasons, but it's certainly not the most efficient way of doing things. So I want to address a couple of things there, and hopefully that makes some sense and open for questions.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Knudsen. Yeah, Councilmember Diaz.
Yeah, so you're saying that, if I heard you right, state statute says we have to do a consultant. We can't do a consultant and build. Is that what you just said?
No, Mayor, Councilmember Diaz. First of all, we're not hiring a consultant, and it's a design. So design services. So if you're going to build a house, the first you need to do is hire an architect, and then you build the house. So we don't want a pool consultant. I'm not sure what that would be. Well, we're trying to identify design and construction services. So you got to design the pool, and then you construct the pool. In terms of requests for qualifications or requests for proposal or requests for a statement of qualifications, all of those processes are identified within state statute, procurement code.
Yeah, but based on what Mr. Knudsen said and some of the feedback I'm hearing from my colleagues on the council and our citizens is to do a true design build. So that's the direction we would give. That's what this item is here, is to have this discussion and give direction so that when it does come forward, we have the cost, we have the timeline, and we have the ad alternates that we can determine based on available funds if we proceed in that direction.
And then the other thing that just came up tonight, I mean, I don't know how they're not guaranteed we're going to get them, but there's identify some grant monies. So that's a great thing. If we could.
We're actually familiar with some of those grants already. We Main Street Commons actually has taken advantage of some of those same dollars. And so, we're familiar with it, and but we'll have our grants team take a look at that as well.
Mr. Mayor?
It's going to be a combination of all of those things. Yeah, Councilmember Dolan.
A little more clarification. The procurement sounds interesting to people outside of the government level, but one option is we want to do something, so we request bids, and then we basically then have to go with the lowest bid, not based on quality or anything, based on the lowest bid, and we have to take it. With this gives us the opportunity to, what's your experience? What do you do? And then we kind of choose that person, and then we can discuss cost based from there. So as far as to being able to accomplish what we want to accomplish to do design build, great. If a Havasu contractor can come in and design it, great. That puts them higher up on the list of, makes them more favorable and all that. But it gives us the ability to be like, yes, that person can do everything they say they can do. So now we can negotiate with them and negotiate from there. So I think it's kind of, not everyone kind of understands that outside of the government realm. So.
And Mayor, I just want to thank everybody for this conversation. I felt like this is what I was really looking for when we were in the CIP budget. I just didn't have enough information. That's what I was yearning for. I need more before I move forward with a CIP budget that has a pool in it that we may or may not be able to afford, and the pricing changes all the way. So I really appreciate everybody at the table, everybody that showed up today, and the citizens that came up and spoke to. I appreciate it. This is what I need to help me make decisions. So thank you much.
Thank you. All right, we still have the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor?
Vice Mayor Lim, I was just saying that we have our public hearing is still open to see if anyone else has anything to add to the conversation, but please go ahead, Vice Mayor.
I'm sorry, I just had one quick comment. With those grants, are we able to go and apply for grants without having anything, like without having the actual RFP or whatever that is? Are we allowed to go start those things, that process, or no?
Yeah, it just depends on the grant perimeter. So each grant's different. So some would require us to have design and plans. Some would require conceptual items. Some would require completion or 30%. So it just depends. But I know our grants team has been looking at options for this project based on all of the conversation we've been having.
Yeah, I was able to share one with some of the staff members. I just wanted to make sure that we were able to do that because I don't want this project to come back and we put all this work into it and it comes up way over budget and we don't have additional funding besides what we've already are going to hopefully approve in our budget and then we don't have it. So I just want to make sure that we can be ahead of the game on that.
Yeah, it's great. I think some of the conversation
Thank
we've
you.
had tonight that flexibility will be there with the design build. So, Mr. Knudsen.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Sheehy, and to your point, Vice Mayor Lynn, so we're kind of taking a little bit of a gamble on kind of the local pool builders. And I think that they're going to step up and we're going to be really pleased with that process. But if the proposals come back and through this process that it far exceeds what we could do with a true design and then a separate bid, we also have that option as well too. So when we start talking about over budget, under budget, a lot of that can be determined whether or not how that process works. But so I think as staff, I'm recommending the design build, take a look at it, see how that unfolds, see what the numbers come back at, and whether it's under budget, at budget, or God forbid, over budget, we'll take a close look at that. It doesn't eliminate our ability to take a look at things from other angles as well too. I just want to put that out there. Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell.
I don't think we legally can, Ms. Geary, can we legally say this RFSQ is supposed to be for locals only? I don't think legally we can do that.
No.
I didn't think
No, we
so.
cannot.
No. I mean, correct? Yeah, no.
No, we cannot. It's open, and then whoever is qualified to bid on it, they will bid on it. They'll go through the process, and that's how it'll be handled.
Yeah, is this is still a public hearing? Would anyone else like to address the council on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. I believe, Mr. Knudsen, you have direction from staff. Is council all comfortable with design build approach with flexibility to be able to go to design only approach with a bid should that not pan out? Everyone's good? Perfect. Do you have what you need, Mr. Knudsen?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, we'll move on to our final public hearing of the evening, 7.9, which is a progress report on the second bridge project design. Mr. Hart.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. It's good to be before you once again. This is a project that I'm very excited about and just wanted to come before you and first of all give you a progress report of where we're at up to this point and then talk about some recent design progress that we've made and then we have our consultant GHD here to talk about intersections. So we'll go ahead and get started. As a project overview, it's kind of as you look at this, a little mind-boggling for me. This has been a project that's been talked about a long time. So in 2001, the Second Island Bridge discussions advanced. In 2006, a Bridgewater Channel redevelopment plan was completed. In 2021, a bill introduced to fund the project to the Arizona State General Fund. And then in 2022, a bill introduced to fund the evacuation route study for the island. 2023 funds were allocated for the bridge construction. 2024, a feasibility study was complete. Then in October of 24, you folks awarded a contract to NV5 to begin design for the project. And then in February of 2025, a design contract with Ames Construction as a CMAR for the project. So this is a CMAR, a contract manager at risk. Design progress, we've actually have progressed quite well on this project. We had a great design team in place here. We went about and explored 4 different alignment options to determine the best to place the bridge, and I'll talk about that a little bit more here in a minute. Our main focus was constructing bridge abutments that were perpendicular to the channel as opposed to skewed, which is cost-driven, very expensive to build a skew bridge abutment, and shortening the length of the bridge was very important. The shorter the bridge, the less cost that we have. The city team met with Arizona State Parks on several occasions to go over their concerns and looking for final alignment acceptance from them. And then the city team also met with Arizona State Lands, which would be on the island side on several occasions to go over concerns and final acceptance from them. And then we received just yesterday a final acceptance letter from Arizona State Parks on our bridge and roadway alignment, which I'll touch on in a minute. And we're expecting a final acceptance letter from Arizona State Lands this week, which will allow us to continue with our goal of a 30% submittal to the U.S. Coast Guard by the end of August 2025. And that is a key permit for us. That is a permit that this Coast Guard has a year to process. They can do it quicker, but what is limiting is that once we submit that 30% submittal to them, we are not allowed to change the roadway and bridge alignment. We have to keep it as is. So we've been hammering that out. So just as a refresher, this is kind of upside down, but it's how I look at the world sometimes. And you'll see there in the middle, we have our MOU, which is our right-of-way easement with both the state parks on this side and the existing or the state lands on that side. And this is 200 feet wide, and this was established, I believe, way back in 2001. Since then, we looked at 4 different options, and this is option 4. And so what we ended up doing was we took the bridge, which was here straight, and we rotated it, and then we shortened it up, and we were able to make our bridge abutments perpendicular to the channel. We were able to shorten the bridge length. And our negotiations with, or just should say discussions with State Parks, who was a great team to work with, they expressed concerns on impacting the existing parking. We pulled the roadway alignment to the east, towards the alley, if you're familiar with the site. And then to prevent as much as we can impacting their parking lot. And then over on the state lands side, we come out of this curve, if you will, and get back into our existing memorandum there. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here too. So this is the state parks side. The upper portion you'll see in red was the original. It's hashed. That was the assumed future 200-foot right-of-way per the memorandum of understanding. We, after looking at this with our design team and going through some alterations, were able to pull that bridge alignment as close as we can to this alley. We were able to shorten the right-of-way that we need down to 80 feet on the west side of the center line and 50 feet on the east. And then once we hit this curve, we do widen out to 160, but nowhere near the 200 feet that we were, which they were very, very pleased with and appreciate us working with them. On the state land side, the original MOU is this area right here, which was 4.02 acres dedicated. We were able to shrink that down to where it's actually, I believe it's 80 and 80, so 160. And then that lowered that to 3.73. We might be able to go a little bit more, but we're going to have to see once we get into some more of the minute design. But state lands was very supportive of this. They liked the idea that instead of having this little triangle that really couldn't be used, now they have a much larger area that could be used in the future for development, as well as over here. And they have given us their blessing, if you will. And that's kind of concludes where we're at with that. What I like to do now is turn it over to our design consultant, Kevin Murphy, and Lindsay Van Paris.
Well, thank you. Kevin Murphy, for those of you who don't know me. Kind of interesting because when I came here in 96, I was pretty excited about the pool being here for my kids. So I enjoyed the discussions. Pretty happy to see it being expanded to meet the current needs. So, but that's not why I'm here, obviously. The second part of the discussion when I came here in 96 was bridge was on our agenda back at that time. So, as Jason very nicely covered, we spent a lot of time going through the best alignment for the bridge to reduce the length, which obviously reduced costs when you're talking, between $700 and $900 a square foot. We feel we have a very good alignment. The next challenge of the bridge is the intersections on both ends, which we anticipate to be pretty high volume intersections. We want those to work very well. So now we're working through that discussion of how to maximize those within the project as well. With that, Lindsay Van Paris is here with me from GHC. NV5's team was GHD, Sigma for structural. And then you recently added Scott Jones from Ames Construction, who's been providing us really good cost analysis on the things we're talking about. So with that, Lindsay has over 17 years. Her expertise is high volume intersections, for everything from big Walmart, mega centers, trucks coming out to everything else. She's done over 100 intersections and made recommendations. And so tonight she's here to give you a nice presentation on her analysis of these two intersections and her recommendations of the best way to move forward.
Right. Thank you. So feel free to stop and ask me any questions. If I talk too fast, ask me to slow down. But what we're here to look at is we have two main intersections associated with this project. So we've got the new roadway at London Bridge Road and the new roadway at McCulloch. And what we took a look at, we did an intersection control evaluation. And so essentially that's a data-based analysis of a signalized alternative and a roundabout alternative. And what that allows us to do is to compare apples to apples and really provide rankings, which I'll end the discussion with those rankings. But before I wanted to dive in to the actual alternatives, I wanted to talk about what roundabouts are not. So we are all on the same page of what we're talking here. They're not the big rotaries like you see in Europe. They're not the small traffic calming circles in neighborhoods, which I personally call driver aggravating devices. They have entry deflection. So they're not what you see here on the screen. So what roundabouts are is that they're unique and customized design. One size does not fit all. Key features are that they're circular in nature, so not a true circle. They're based on principles and not standards. They provide a safe systems approach to design, and what safe systems is it's a redundancy and safety. So at a signal, you don't have anything but the light telling you to stop, where at a railroad, you've got the light with the gate arms coming down. That's more of a safe systems approach. So it tells you what you should be doing and then put something in your way to make sure you're doing it right and keeping you safe. It sets drivers up for success, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And it can accommodate various design vehicles and all roadway users. So bikes and pedestrians, road cyclists and families. So as I said, they can be designed for everyone. That big Walmart that Kevin was talking about is actually that image right there on that picture. 500 trucks a day utilize this, which is shown here. So large vehicles are accommodated in roundabouts. They're not designed for that, they are accommodated. And what the difference of that is that we provide that truck apron with a curb that drivers don't want to drive over, but that the large trucks can and still can get through that intersection. If you notice, most of these trucks are actually not even using the apron, but the really large ones do have to use the apron. So when we look at the intersections, we've got vehicle conflict points. So at a signal or a stop controlled intersection, 2 lanes in either direction, you're looking at 32 potential conflict points between vehicles and vehicles. With a roundabout, you're down to 8. And of those 8, you have 4 that are crossing or merging. So those are locations where you could potentially sideswipe. And then same with diverging, you get those side swipes. So what you see with roundabouts is a significant reduction in those particularly injury-related crashes like rear ends, T-bones, head-ons. You just don't get those at roundabouts because you're changing the way people drive through them. So vehicle pedestrian conflicts, we've got 24 at a stop control or a signal, where at a roundabout, there are 8. And I don't know about you, but how many times have you sat at a red light and you're looking left to see if you can make that right on red? You go to make the right and all of a sudden there's a pedestrian right there. Roundabouts take that out of it. They remove the conflict zone for the pedestrian. And I have a graphic to show that here a little bit later. Safety. So this is a study of all roundabouts in the state of Minnesota, which they have a surprising amount of roundabouts. And they did before and after studies. And these were the crash rate reductions where roundabouts were installed. for single, hybrid, and multi-lane roundabouts. So you got an 86% reduction in fatal collisions, 83% reduction in serious injury, 71% reduction in left turns, and right angle crashes are reduced by about 36%. And this is very consistent with a study that the NCHRP, I'm blanking on what that stands for, but the NCHRP and FHWA have done independent studies, and they're all aligned with this data. I get asked a lot, what about cyclists and what about pedestrians? It's actually 57.9% safer or fewer pedestrian crashes at roundabouts and 3.5% fewer collisions with cyclists inside of a roundabout. And then this video here is, if it plays. Okay, there we go. So this is not this project. It's a project in a different city. And what I want to point out is it might be a little hard to see. You have to zoom in, but the cars have their speeds on them. And what a roundabout does is we design it to have a fastest path of 25 miles per hour. And what that means is the drivers ignore all signals, or sorry, all striping, and just put the pedal to the metal as fast as they can with the little speed car. How fast can they go through there? And that's set as a design parameter of 25 miles an hour. So as you see with these cars, your normal driver is looking around 18 to 20 miles an hour on entry. And that's exactly what we like to see. You'll see on the screen, there's platoons of cyclists. So we provide, here they come now. They are going roughly the same speed as the vehicles are going, which is very important. If they're going to be merging into the lane and taking the lane, because you want that speed differential to be equal. There's also little concrete ramps that a cyclist, if they were not comfortable taking a lane, they could get off and go around on the sidewalk on the outside. So it's a wide shared use path. So costs, what do we talk about when we talk about costs? This is an example of a project lifecycle cost evaluation. And we look at more than just the construction costs and the capital costs, but we look at societal costs as well. So operations and maintenance. Roundabouts are less because you're not maintaining a signal. Yes, you have lighting, but you're not maintaining that signal. You're not maintaining the signal controller, all of that fun stuff. Fuel and greenhouse gas costs, those get reduced at a roundabout because you're reducing the idling. And so there's less delay generally as well. And then collision costs. So there are costs associated with collisions. We talked about the EMS week earlier, and those are costs that the city incurs and the community incurs when our first responders are being called out to a collision. And we in the engineering community say, if you do get in a collision at an intersection that is a roundabout, you will likely be just calling your insurance company and not calling a tow truck. So it's really, they just outperform in that benefit cost analysis. So they do score higher on grant applications as well. Placemaking. So this is a project in a desert community, before and after. In the before picture, you notice the streetlights, maybe the palm trees. And then in the roundabout picture, you really get to see the beauty of the mountains that are surrounding it. So it's an opportunity for placemaking. These are all landscaped. The community in which this was built, they have a very robust community art commission. And so they wanted to decide what the artwork would go. So we included conduit and stub outs so that it could be lit, it could be irrigated, whatever it needed to be. And we put the concrete pad, and then the art commission is going through their process of picking out what they want. These ones here, the agencies really knew what they wanted. And we designed the central islands to pay homage to that community. So one is in a bird sanctuary city. And the fun part about that is the one with the bird statue in the water, that is 100% water free. So that's artificial turf, blue tumbled glass. There's no water, there's no real maintenance needs, but it still looks really beautiful. The one on the left, as you can see, there's plants and things in there. And this is another thing I wanted to point out. A lot of times when people see roundabouts, they think, oh, you can't put something in the middle because you're blocking my view. That's exactly what we want to do. We want to block your view because in a roundabout, your conflict is not straight ahead. Your conflict is to the left. And so in a modern roundabout, we set you up for success by having the driver come in so they feel like they have to yield rather than merge and look to their left. We do view angle to make sure that even people with mobility issues can still make that turn comfortably. So I've told you a lot of facts, but they're all based on excerpts from FHWA. So they are a proven countermeasure for safety. So they are approved by FHWA, which is why you score better in grant applications, things like that. There are more than 10,000 roundabouts in the US, and that number is going up. So they're on the rise. And then this was their quote: on average, roundabouts reduce crashes, those resulting in injury or loss of life, by 78 to 82%. Where signalized intersections, the benefit of those, they have higher driver familiarity, but literature searches primarily found information regarding a traffic signal is there was no information that we were able to find that said a signal was better than a roundabout. So that's that, but we did evaluate them both. So we'll take a look a little bit more in depth at these two intersection locations. So the new roadway at London Bridge Road. So we have here on the left, you've got your signalized intersection, and on the right is the roundabout. As was mentioned, that alignment has changed. So this hasn't been updated since we just got that agreement yesterday, but it will be updated so that the roadway comes in more at the alleyway than where it's shown here on this photo. One key point is that at this intersection, there's minimal storage in between the new road and Paseo del Sol. So that was a key criteria in our analysis. And now there's a bunch of numbers on your screen. Essentially what this is the level of service, and what the level of service represents. And we score it typically from A to F. A meaning you're going through, F meaning you're in LA and you're hating life. So the existing, we did existing year, but we also projected out to the design year. I'm showing you the design year. So in traditional engineering projects, we go out 20 to 40 years. We've selected 2045 as our design year. And with the signal, you're looking at the numbers, the 37.8 highlighted there in red, that's a LOSD. That 37.8 is seconds. So seconds of delay on average, how long people will be sitting there not moving. So when you look at those, you're looking at your peak hour in the afternoon, you're going to be sitting for 43.8 seconds. I know that doesn't seem like a long time, but it is. And then you're going to get the cues that spill back. And then you have to have even longer green times in your signal timing, or you're stopping cars more frequently, which causes the additional delay. So we did a queuing analysis as well. As you can see, what's in red is the queues. So both the signal and the roundabout, the queues don't spill back far enough to block access to Paseo del Sol, but on the signalized intersection, they do. So back by where Willow Wash is, that driveway would have impacts. People wouldn't be able to get into it. People can't come in and out of the road there. And then if you notice the turn lane, the capacity we need for the turn lane is what's shown on the screen, and that extends past the queuing. So drivers wouldn't be able to get into a left turn lane because cars would be queuing back so far, or we would have to pull that left turn lane back, but then that would hinder access into the driveway because it's a left turn lane and not a two-way left turn lane. So there are challenges with the signalized intersection here from a queuing analysis standpoint. We did do truck turns. So the question is, can trucks and cars pulling boats, as you can see here on the screen, can they make it through this intersection? And the answer is yes. So this is showing a 20-foot pickup and a 40-foot RV. And the blue lines is essentially the truck path, and then that striped hashed out area is the swept path. So where the body of the boat and the truck are. We also looked at an RV and a boat to make sure that they can get in there. And yes, they can. So they can get in and they do not need to utilize the truck apron. If they want to, they can, but they don't need to. So they can get through without having to have it jostle by using that truck apron. So new roadway at McCulloch. We've got 2 alternatives here as well. We've got the signal and the roundabout. The challenge with the signal is that there is no speed control. So the only thing that we can do to control speeds is to turn the light red, but you're not going to have it red all the time. So when your light is green, there is nothing that's going to slow a car down other than a posted speed limit or enforcement. And that's how it happens in a lot of situations, but we don't see people driving posted speed limits, especially after COVID. The speeding and collision rates have just skyrocketed all throughout the nation, where the roundabout does provide that entry deflection. So we force drivers to go 25 miles an hour. It'll be posted for 20, an advisory speed, but the fastest path will be 25. So that it's minimal to no speed control, and the southbound does not have to stop. It also has impacts to Beachcomber, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, where the roundabout is speed controlled at fastest speed of 25 miles an hour. This right turn is also, you're going to make a right on red if pedestrians are trying to cross there. That puts them at risk for both right turns. With the roundabout, we actually incorporated a right turn bypass. So people wanting to go down McCulloch, it can, and just almost bypass the roundabout. So you just make a sweeping right that's still slow. And then if you wanted to go into the roundabout and onto the new roadway, you just stay in that left lane and go through. So we also provided did a colorized exhibit here so you could see that dedicated right turn lane. There's an island to provide safe operations. So as you can see in the picture on the right, that's another roundabout in a desert community where it's implementing roughly the same thing. We've got that island that goes out in this pork chop island that goes out pretty far, so you don't get cars merging into each other after the roundabout. And then we also provide pedestrian refuges, so there'll be a place for a pedestrian to stop and assess if it's safe to cross the next leg. So that's the other benefit of roundabouts is you reduce your crossing distance. So a pedestrian can look one way, walk, wait to make sure it's clear, cross another lane, and then wait to make sure it's clear before they can get back onto the sidewalk. So this provides safer facilities for your cyclists and your pedestrians. That's the pedestrian refuge that I was talking about. And here the blue highlights the proposed sidewalk and shared use path, so there would be access on all 3 legs. One thing to note is that this is a 3-leg intersection, but if development were to come through in the future, it can accommodate a 4th leg. So summary of the movements, the level of service isn't as rough as you saw at London Bridge, but it still has some LOS-A and LOS-B, which actually makes it less safe from a safety standpoint, because when you don't have that volume of cars and you have less cars, we tend to see cars go faster. So that risk of driving through that intersection too fast is increased because it's operating at a decent level of service. Looking at the queuing summary or queuing analysis, the summary, both designs have relatively low queuing. The roundabout has less queuing, so not as many number of long cars. And then we've got the issue of the through movement being longer than the left turning movement. So potentially that queue could back up that left turning movement and delay drivers even further. And then this is one of the questions we were asked was, how does this impact Beachcomber? There's 650 feet in between the two of them. And so what we're showing here with an always stop controlled intersection, that queue length doesn't come anywhere close to 650 feet. So we're looking at it's still operating just fine. Longest queue is, I think, 51 feet. So there's plenty of room in between the new intersection and the existing Beachcomber intersection. Same with the roundabout. So if you look at the existing level of service at the always stop, we're looking at LOSs of A. So it still will operate smoothly as an always stop control. We looked at the truck and boat for this intersection as well. We looked at all movements. I'm only showing 2 of those movements here, but they can make it without having to use the truck apron. And then we also ran the RV with the boat, and they too can access this intersection fairly easily. So looking at what all this means together. So as part of our intersection control evaluation, we took into account those key considerations that you see on the left. You've got safety, operations, which means the traffic operations, your right-of-way impacts, the ability to accommodate multimodal, large vehicle accommodation, the opportunity for beautification, the total life cycle cost, and the capital cost. And usually we see roundabout costs coming in higher than signal costs, but because of what the industry is doing with signals are really expensive right now and hard to get. So that we're actually predicting that the roundabouts will save the project about $300,000. Yeah, $375,000. So they are a cost savings when compared to the signalized intersection. So just again, a summary of the analysis. If we look at the total score in a percent base, you see that first row is the signals. So they scored about a 41%, or then 42 points, sorry. They're looking at scoring only 42 and 41 points, where the roundabouts are scoring 68 and 70 with a total possible score of 72. When you look at it from a percentage output or point of view, you've got 58%, they scored 58% for the London Bridge Road, and 94% was what the roundabout would score as far as grades. So you're looking at an F versus an A on both London Bridge Road and McCulloch Road. In summary, the roundabouts at both intersections will provide a safer solution, more benefit than the signals, and provide that opportunity to beautify and really make an entrance into the island. This is just a look at both of those intersections again, and a lot of times for roundabouts going into areas that don't have them, the public opinion is about 33% before construction and 72% approval after construction. So you get a 39% increase in a favorable view once people can drive through it. And one of the things that I feel we do ourselves a disservice as engineers is show you graphics like this, because this is never how you will see this intersection unless you look on Google Earth after they update it. So how you experience it is by driving it. And so one of the things that we like to do is do videos driving through. We have a bunch of materials that I'd be happy to share with you that kind of show you what that driver experience is and what it feels like. I remember driving through my first roundabout I designed. I drove through it and I was so disappointed because I was expecting it to be fun and exciting. And I was like, oh, I just went through the intersection. That wasn't that hard. So I think we do ourselves a disservice, but our recommendation would be to move forward with roundabouts at both of the intersections.
So that's it for our presentation. We can take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Hart, and thank you, team. I learned more about roundabouts than I thought I even existed, but very valuable information that was there. It's when you talk about roundabouts, people either love them or they hate them.
Yes.
I usually just go to like Sedona. Before roundabouts, it would take hours and hours and hours to get into Sedona, and now it just doesn't. And that's strictly because of this. In this unique situation, it seems to make some sense based on what we saw today, coming through and for efficiency of moving about. I appreciate the update, Mr. Hart, on the bridge. It's in the city manager and I joke that our speeds of quick are different, but we really are moving very quick on this project, and I appreciate all the work that the team is doing on that front. I'll open up to questions from other members of council or comments. Yeah,
Sure.
Councilmember Diaz, and then we'll go to Councilmember Moses.
So, yeah, I think favorability goes way up when people get used to roundabouts. So your one graph, like 39% is true because I've experienced that myself. So that's good. And great information. Thank you. That'll help us to be able to talk to the public about it. Mr. Hart, did you say by shifting the span of the bridge smaller, is that dollar? Is that like a $3 million savings? What is that actual dollar? Do you have a close idea?
I believe we were estimating somewhere in the neighborhood. You want to go ahead and touch on it, Kevin? Oh, and then we have Ames Construction, our contractor here too as well.
Scott's been moving on the number, so let's Scott.
Yeah, okay. Scott Jones with Ames, but we found that the price went down significantly because for a bridge deck with that size of girders, we're looking up around $900 a square foot versus I think we're around, if you just take roadway, 11 or 12 bucks a square foot overall. And so we did the analysis, and as you start to reduce the length of the bridge, it significantly reduced the cost in the millions. I don't remember the numbers exactly. We've done a lot of cost analysis, but it's significant. And by looking at it from a value engineering standpoint, which the team has, it really ensures that we can bring this thing and make sure we're within budget.
No, I appreciate that. And then, well, I know we talked about Arizona State Parks. We got the letter. That's great. And then, and lands is coming, but is BLM involved in any of this? Do we have any agreements that BLM has to be involved?
This process, believe it or not, goes through the U.S. Coast Guard. I mean, yes, 100%. Oh, my watch is talking to me. But they're the permitting agency, and so they coordinate with BLM. Jill, who is probably listening on the line, so she'll tell me if I said something wrong, has been doing your permitting in this area for a number of years. She's already been in touch with them. We've already had a few conference calls with them to give them what they need. They coordinate with all the different agencies, including reaching out to Native American tribes and things like that. So it's a very permit heavy process, but we're moving as quickly as we can and getting the alignment in place. The 30%, I know Jason stated it. We spent a lot of time value engineering it, both on the length of the bridge, but also the cross section of what lane widths really do make sense for the bridge and the roadways. So we feel with Scott's agreement that we're doing very well cost wise in our analysis so far. I mean, he's gone up and actually met with Sigma in their office going over the structural engineering components. How best can it be built? So it's been a very progressive design. We've had quite a few meetings with staff who've been just great helping make decisions to get us to where we're at today. And then Lindsay's, this was the next part. What do we do with the intersections, which is as important as anything else?
Then my last question is when do we think after everything is lined up or to get started on this project? When are we going to put a shovel into the dirt and start moving? Going on this thing?
That's we're revising the schedule based because we moved this bridge and realigned it. We've kind of pushed back our schedule. We're hoping to get to 30%. And the reason 30% is so important is once we're at 30%, we can't change anything. We submit for our permits, how it looks, where it's at, the roadways, and you would think they would just be permitting the bridge. They permit the entire project, including the intersections. That's why we're here today. And so we're pushing for 30%, hoping to get there by the end of July. Then it could be anywhere from 6 months to a year that for that permitting process. During that time, though, is when we're taking it to 60% design. If we're comfortable that we're not going to have a lot of changes required of us. At 60%, that's where Scott comes in and says, this is what it's going to cost you based on today's prices for asphalt, concrete, pipes. As you know, there's a lot of other infrastructure that's proposed for this project besides just the bridge and roadways.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yeah, Mr. Knudsen.
And then as Councilmember Diaz as well, to kind of talk about the timing. And we do have a representative from State Parks here, and I'm not going to put him on the, on the spot, but if he wants to make a comment in terms of what that looks like, that'd be more than appreciated. But Mr. Hart talked about on the slide about the letter, the acceptance letter, is that what it was called, to refer to from State Land, from State Parks. Those are just the initial first step. So I love the optimism coming from our team, because that's what we do in terms of getting this happen. But State Land is going to take an effort in terms of the addendum to an agreement that's going to have to come before council to change that. We don't own the land on the island side. State Land gave us a perpetual lease agreement with a legal description that was referred to earlier. We're trying to change that because it's a better use of the area and it minimizes the cost of the project. But we will need 2 signatures on that agreement. Have to be adopted and approved by council, and have to be approved on the State Land side. That, my experience is, that is a arduous process. I've been working with State Lands here in Arizona for 20 years. And speedy has never been a description that I've had for State Land. And we are also going to need that. So that could be, we could get that done maybe in 3 months, or that could be a year plus. But the team on the staff side, MB5, Jill Hines on the environmental side, and Ames, and everybody has had a lot of great conversation with State Land. We're hearing a lot of great things. We're also trying to get renegotiated a right-of-way agreement with State Land on a totally different project for just the channel area. And Mr. Tuneman's working on that for about 8 to 10 months. And we still don't have a path forward on that in terms of timing. So I just want to put some expectations in terms of timing that's out there. We don't know when we're going to have that agreement in front of council. The NB5 team, the Ames team, the city team, we're ready to do that right now. State Land is taken a much longer approach. We're also going to need, right now the city has a MOU in place, memo of understanding in place with State Parks on the mainland side. That MOU says that they're going to work with the city and provide us with the right of way for the project. But we need an agreement to come before council that's signed by State Parks and signed by the city in order to accomplish that. Some really great conversations in terms of what that looks like, trying to minimize the impact to the state park, trying to enhance the visitor experience at the state park. The roundabout intersection conversations are a lot of that has to do with how do we get people in and out, not just the bridge, but also into that state park. So all that being said, that's out of our control. That could take 2 to 3 months. That could take a year plus in terms of State Land in particular. And we're also working with State Parks on that effort. I just want to put that out there in terms of timing and all the rest too. So thank you.
I'd like to add State Parks sounds like they're pretty happy because part of this project is bringing that path underneath the bridge and through the park and tying it into the multi-use path that will go over to the island, which enhances the park for recreation.
Very good. Are there other questions or comments from council before we open the public hearing? Yeah, Councilmember Moses.
Yeah, thank you.
Is your microphone on?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. You mentioned that it's safer for pedestrians. Can you mention, just kind of talk about how that's safer for pedestrians? Is it because...
So, sorry, it's because one, the speed reduction improves safety. So when you've got your green light, you get no speed reduction other than enforcement and signs. And it's sad that I know this statistic, but a pedestrian's chance of surviving a collision is 40% if the speeds are 30 miles per hour or less, or more. And they have a 40% chance of survival if it's 40 or below, and then it increases after that. So with 40 miles an hour. So with a roundabout at 25, you significantly reduce or improve a pedestrian's chance of survival if there was a collision. But one of the reasons why they are safer is because that decision point for your driver is completely split. So that scenario where I painted, you're looking left and a pedestrian comes from your right because you're looking for traffic, that doesn't work with the roundabout. So we set the crosswalk back about 25 feet from the intersection. That allows a car to queue there, but then the driver approaches the crosswalk first and only has one conflict. They look left, right. Is there a pedestrian? Is there a cyclist? No. Then they can proceed, then look at the vehicles. So that really, it helps set drivers up for success by not putting too many conflicting decision points at one location, and it separates them out. It also reduces the amount of exposure that a pedestrian has because you're only crossing one lane of traffic every time and you're getting into a refuge rather than having to cross 40 feet of pavement. You only cross 12.
Yeah, and I guess that would make sense because I can't tell you how many times I've been there in an intersection trying to turn right, and I'm like, is this person going to go? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like it's, you never know what a person on an e-bike or walking is going to go. Like sometimes they just decide to walk out of nowhere. So I could see that being a huge benefit, being so much farther away. Everybody has more time to react. Can we look at the alignment to the alleyway and the rest of the hotels and all that over by London Bridge Road? Keep going. Sorry. I should have asked a long time ago.
Got to click through all my animations. Yeah, I don't know that this.
I believe you're referring to
more of an alignment
that I showed. Yeah, I can take.
Can you go back over to that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take over from here if you don't.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It's the same presentation. We are almost there. Getting so close. Yeah, it's
there we are.
There we go.
So I see that, I mean, we've saved a lot of parking lot for state lands. What is, how close, so are we still going to have that alleyway right there, right alongside of that road? Like, how is all that that whole area gonna be reimagined? And I talked to a lot of businesses over in that area, and you know, we're all concerned about alignment.
That is a great question. Reimagined is probably the proper word to use here, because that alley will be stopped and blocked off. It will no longer go through. And so what it's used for in the future is, we understand there's only about 3 properties closer to where the start of the alley is, where you see the old entrance to State Park is. Those 3 have driveways. The other 3 lots you see, the 4 lots you see there right now are not developed, so they don't have any need for that alley. So we don't envision it having any kind of impact to them, because we can just block it off at the end or wherever we choose it to be. You may choose to vacate that alley to the property sometime in the future. But no, we haven't envisioned what that could be. We just know it will not be connected to the roundabout in any way, shape, or form. It will be blocked off at some point.
That alleyway essentially goes away. Is that a city land? That's not part of their property or anything like that, right? Sorry.
Mayor, Councilmember Moses, what's the question? Is it part of our plan?
That is the alleyway that is behind those lots. That's all city property, right? That's not their property.
Yeah, I mean that's city property. And Mr. Hart is telling me that that's the case. So
okay, yeah, thank you, Mr. Hart. Okay, at what point? Because there's an elevation change. Am I correct? At what point do we get from that? What's the difference between that roundabout center and the bridge? How much elevation do we have to gain? Do you know?
No, it is. It starts. I know, looking at the plans, it starts elevating. If I can point up here.
Yeah, that'd be great. Almost where it starts to curve.
Yeah, Mr. Murphy, if you could limit your time there and to get it to a microphone. So for those watching at home, on the upper side of the slide where there's a 200-foot marker, maybe Mr. Hart, you can put the mouse cue over that, about that area.
I believe we were estimating about 300 feet off the bridge, which would put us out about right here where we match grade through here.
And do we know how much elevation change needs to occur?
It's matching the existing London Bridge elevation. So I believe it's dependent from the one side. It's a lot more than the other side, because if you notice the island side is quite a bit higher, but I can't recall the amount of elevation change. Unless Scott's done a lot of analysis.
The abutments are about 35 feet tall at the abutment, but if you go to the island side, it's a big hill there, so it catches grade. I think it was in a couple hundred feet after you come off your approach slab. And then the other side, I think it comes up like 12 feet or something. And so that's where you catch that grade, about that 300-foot mark.
I'm just trying to envision how big of a hill, how big of a ramp are we going to be building in front of these businesses?
Yes, is at the Motel 6, is this new road going to be looking in their third floor windows?
No.
Okay.
No,
but just for
elevation is going to be pretty close to the same elevation as the parking lots are right now. It's that grade, like Jason mentioned. I think it's about the 200-foot line going across over to the island. It's about where we start catching grade. Then on the other side, for anybody who's out there, it's pretty tall, so it's a lot less.
Yeah. The other side should be fine, because that's all
we're still higher
to be determined land.
Yeah.
Right. We're changing a lot of what's going on behind these businesses. Is there any way that I could get a height number?
Absolutely. We have it. I just couldn't remember off the top of my head.
You guys know so much. Trust me.
Yeah, we have it. In fact, we have some schematics someplace that we shared with State Parks that actually showed how it looks.
So yeah, if I can just get just something to be able to tell these people what they can expect.
Yes.
Sorry, a couple more questions. So the alleyways, can we go back to well, it doesn't matter which one we go to. So with the alleyway, I forget the name of that road right there. It's like Marlboro or Veterans, one of the ones over there. But we're bringing an alleyway into the London Bridge Road right before that, right before the potential roundabout.
No, we're not. If I can answer that, we're not. We'll be terminating the alleyway and potentially vacating the alleyway.
The alleyway next to. Can we go back next
to Story and
you're talking
American Battery?
I'm sorry, you're talking across the street from where this is at.
Yeah, it's a different. Not the alleyway right there.
That's one.
We can go back to the other.
I'm gonna go to.
Oh, did I do it?
Yeah,
you should have picked a different order.
You should ask this question first, and then we wouldn't have had to.
Right. Well, is there ever a situation where you wouldn't recommend a roundabout over an intersection? What are some parameters that might make something like, if this happens, roundabouts you wouldn't recommend from a functionality or efficiency standpoint?
Yeah, roundabouts on grade can be a challenge because you risk overturning trucks.
Right. Yeah.
And so if you don't have the ability or the capacity to tabletop it to a maximum of 4% slope,
that's fine, right there.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it then. The skew of the way the intersections come together is also a really big issue. If they're too off skewed and you can't get enough separation distance between one leg and the other, then
if they're too
if you have like if you got like a weird V intersection, sometimes it's hard if you don't have the room to realign it to get that distance between one leg of the intersection and the other leg, then it doesn't really allow cars to get out and assess if there's a conflict. So we wouldn't recommend it in that situation.
And in your professional opinion, you were not creating that with this alleyway on the roundabout slide right here. This alleyway that is coming right into London Bridge Road right before the roundabout, we're not creating that situation.
No, there was, there was
Too close or too congested?
No, we looked at from a queuing analysis. There was a request from state parks to keep a portion of that parking lot and provide a connection. We recommended an alternative because it would have been too close to the intersection and wouldn't be safe for cars to get into or out of. So we recommended a different approach so that it would maintain a viable intersection with the roundabout.
Okay, perfect.
Just to add, if you talk about that road that's coming off, like Van Vliet, I think it is, or whatever it is, one of the things that happens right there with a signalized intersection is your queuing backs up past that intersection, where you're roundabout.
And make a left and off onto London Bridge.
Yeah, you're backed up. That's one of the things she mentioned earlier. That's what one of the bad points.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I have no doubt that if a roundabout were to go in, people get used to it, and then ultimately you're going to be, okay, that's not that big of a deal. It's not so scary. I'm used to it. We have a lot of first-time visitors, a lot of tourists who don't necessarily know, and I can't tell you how many times I've been in another city and I'm trying to follow MapQuest, you know what I mean, or
MapQuest.
I think I just said it myself. Wow. I really am the oldest one up here. I'm trying to follow Waze because, I'm hip now. I'm trying to follow Waze, and I'm like, well, it says to go right, but like, which right do I take? You know what I mean? Are there ways that we can limit? Because it's all about confusion and frustration at these intersections that we want to limit. So is there things that we can do communication-wise to limit some of that confusion?
Yes, there's quite a few things. One thing that we tend to do as engineers is we tell the driver what they should do, reaffirm that they're making the right decision, and then reaffirm that they've made the right decision. And we do that through a series of markings or signage. And so we will do that with this intersection. So there's two different types of signs that the manual and uniform traffic control devices will allow. Some are one is diagrammatic. So you have a picture with like a circle with an arrow, and you can have your road names there. Or there's other ones that just say, new roadway, left turn or something like that. And we can present both of those options and provide our recommendation. Another way that we do that is advanced signing. So making sure, particularly at McCulloch, because you have that right turn lane, we want to make sure that people turning right are getting into it. So we do advanced signing of that. And then we also do roadway signs in the central islands. So as you're going through the road name, it's not your traditional street sign. It has an arrow that points and says new roadway this way, London Bridge Road this way. So it really reinforces the right choice is being made and makes it really clear which direction you need to go. And then there's non-intersection things that you can do as well. So we've done a lot of how to drive, how to walk, how to ride your bike, even how to drive a golf cart through a roundabout. So we can make those materials available. We do projects in high tourist areas all the time. So if you've been to downtown Napa, I did the roundabouts that are entrance to downtown Napa. They operate beautifully. The entrance to Pebble Beach Golf Course is a roundabout now as well, which operates great. And when we first put it in, we had flyers at the guard shack at 17 Mile Drive. So people could take it and learn how to drive in Napa during construction. We had a big poster that we've made and put up on this construction staging area of how to drive and how to bike through it with different tips. And then we had that on the website. So there's a lot of ways that you can help encourage drivers of safe using it.
Thank you.
Cameron, you could probably watch some videos on MySpace as well.
Thank you, Jim.
That was David's joke. I just made it work. So,
I was I've personally been through roundabouts and can navigate fine, and it's okay. Like I just know that so many people in this town have told me no, that they don't want them. I'm kind of being pulled over to the dark side over here, because it makes a lot of sense. And so I appreciate the presentation. I know this bridge work session has turned into the roundabout work session. But I'm just very concerned with the connectivity. And so I appreciate the attention to this detail over here and how it's going to work with all of our business district down there and going on to the island. So I appreciate the forethought into this. I'm kind of coming around on this roundabout stuff. Might have to, field a few hate calls and death threats, but,
you can send them. You can send them to me. I get those all the time. But can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
One thing that we found really successful in communities that have constituents that don't like roundabouts or aren't a fan of them is hold a roundabout rodeo, where you essentially go out to the State Lands parking lot and set up with cones a real size. We put it up to scale and invite the community to come out and drive through it.
Absolutely.
It really takes away that fear once they've seen it and know what it's going to feel like. So that is a tool that has been successful in other communities.
And I just want to say, when we're keep designing, I know this is, I just really want to emphasize the importance of the multi-use paths, especially in this area and out onto the island, and connectivity down with the channel and all that stuff. I hope we can really, really keep this aspect of it. There's also been a lot of chatter about widening of London Bridge Road. We'll still be able to have that capability if that road were to need to grow, and this intersection will still be able to handle that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Councilmember Moses. Councilmember Campbell?
Mayor, I think the council's becoming really united about roundabouts.
The videos is what, once you have our modeling of that video with the speeds on the top of it and bicycles coming through, it just makes a whole lot of sense. So yeah, thank you for presenting that. Any other questions from members of the council before we open the public hearing? All right, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? Just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I have two questions. I'm kind of on board with the roundabout on the island. And one of the reasons that I think it'll work well is because there's very limited choices on where you're going to go. You're either on the island or off the island. And I share Cameron Moses's, Councilmember Moses's concerns about London Bridge Road. But my question about the roundabout on the island is, what's the diameter of that roundabout? And I think that the larger the diameter, the safer they are. So we're limited to how big of diameter that roundabout is by how much access we have in that lane. Is that correct? My questions are they safer, bigger, and how large can we make that?
Thank you. We'll have the expert answer that for us.
Actually, that's a common misconception. The larger that the roundabout is, the faster and the faster cars can go and the harder it is to control speeds through there. And that's one of the biggest safety points of roundabouts, is controlling those speeds. So when they get bigger, they are less safe. And same with the number of lanes. If you have a roundabout, a 2-lane roundabout that you open up, and day one, you only need a single lane, it's much less safer because you don't have the vehicles using both lanes, and you lose that speed control because drivers ignore striping and they ignore signing. And so it's really important to right size your roundabout. So each one is as big as it needs to be to accommodate large vehicles and to accommodate your fire trucks. And so there's no slowing down in emergency response, but providing just the right space. And then I forgot your second question.
What is the ICD of that roundabout?
I will have to look at that and get back to you. Okay. I may have the answer on my phone.
Okay. And then my second question has to do with the connection at London Bridge Road. One of the comments that the feasibility study posed about is a problem with the intersection at South Palo Verde and London Bridge Road. And basically, we're going to have to replace it with a controlled intersection at South Palo Verde, and likely require some modifications to South Palo Verde to accommodate the turning and everything. So that was brought up at the original presentation, but it's not included in the cost of this bridge and the repair and the road repairs or changes that are going to have to be done to London Bridge Road at South Palo Verde. So is there any idea of what that's going to cost, which is technically an added part to this project, right? So I'm just wondering about that. And obviously, just one last comment. I was an advocate to bring this straight to 95 with an intersection at London Bridge Road, which is the least intrusive to London Bridge Road. And most people are going to go to 95 anyway. So most of this traffic is going to go to South Palo Verde and up and around. And I wanted it to go, I thought the best way for the city and the traffic would be straight up to 95 with a T intersection, not a Florida T intersection, on a 95, which would work the best. It would cost more, of course, but we're going to spend a lot of money on that, on revamping London Bridge Road and the South Palo Verde. So is there any study or any idea how much extra it's going to cost us to fix that intersection? Thank you.
Thank you.
The best way to answer that is yes, we were evaluating both London Bridge Road at South Palo Verde. The early assumptions are there will be a stop on London Bridge Road at South Palo Verde to allow more movement through here. But to ensure that we're not creating problems at 95 at Mesquite and South Palo Verde, we've also analyzed those intersections to determine what, if any, improvements need to be made there. So the last thing I wanted to do was bring you a project, build this bridge, and all of a sudden there's problems someplace else that we've created. And so part of our duty to you guys is we're evaluating London Bridge Road, how we can make any changes to that to accommodate. As you see, these are 40-year projections on both London Bridge Road and those intersections. And that'll be part of the final product when you see the 30%.
Thank you.
We did do a routing study and a routing analysis, and it's included in our traffic report, which the city has reviewed. We did include analysis at 8 intersections that could potentially be impacted, and did provide an analysis all the way through 2045, and showed that they'll either work or they need maybe another stop sign. And I don't, as Kevin said, there are some impacts, but we're not seeing an overall huge change to those 8 intersections that we looked at.
Thank you. All right, would anyone else like to address the City Council?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, staff. My name is Dan Roddy. I'm the Western Region Manager for the Arizona State Parks and Trails. Thank you very much for having this agenda item this evening. I was very happy to forward today a letter from the Arizona State Parks supporting the alignment as it was presented here this evening. We didn't get everything we were looking for. Obviously, we voted in favor of just a single right turn at Paseo del Sol as opposed to a roundabout or a slanted intersection of any type, but everybody has to give a little bit. This is a very important project for our community. We very much support it. I did want to add some clarification points based on some of the things that were stated here today. While we continue to work together and we're all on the same page and we all want a great project, we are still quite a ways away from having a signed agreement. I appreciated what City Manager Knudsen said earlier, that we continue to work on those things. We've identified some areas that we have to work together on, but I didn't want anybody to think that we were, not having a lot of work left to do, and we're looking forward to doing that together. Our folks that we've been meeting with in the city have been great to work with, Jason Hart and Ron Fogan, as well as a few other folks. We've truly appreciated it. We are keeping an eye on, as each of these things comes up, the opportunities for improving outdoor recreation opportunities. Some of the things that Council Member Moses pointed out as well. Some of the ways that it can truly be an asset to the community, not just for ease of driving on and off the island. So we're excited for those partnerships as well. With that, I just wanted to say we will continue to work with it. We've already worked together to allow certain contractors onto the property for various testing, et cetera. But I would like to just reiterate in closing that we're very much looking forward to working with Lake Havasu City on this project. But we do definitely have to make sure that we are protecting our interests and the interests of the Arizona State Parks in getting the best possible outcome as we move forward on the second bridge here in Lake Havasu City. With that, if there are any questions about anything that was related to Arizona State Parks, I'd be happy to answer those.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Roddy, and thank you for your partnership. You've been a pleasure to work with, and thank you for doing that, for coming in and basically just saying, hey, we want to be a partner with you, and you've stepped up to do that. So thank you so much for doing that. The one question I had is there was an area that Mr. Hart in one of his presentations or one of his slides showed the back end of Windsor 4. When you come in off of in between Kingsview Condos and Sway Hotel, and then you drive onto State Parks land. What happens to that going forward?
Well, it was if Mr. Hart could pull up that slide, I'd be happy to talk to it. One of the benefits that we did arrive at in our conversations was that we agreed to talk about this version because there were so many different things coming out. As one of the other speakers mentioned, the different things that have been out there. And so the one is what we agreed we would base all conversations on for this point. So I'd like to get that one displayed if possible. But with that, there are certain areas as it's laid out now and the alignment that we went on record as saying that we support. So if you look at the lower portion of this page and the blue outline, that is the one that we are really talking about, that we've said this is the point of where we all said this version is the one we're going to talk about and start working on. Any modifications would be this. So everything else on there, like was it going to be a roundabout, was going to be this, was going to be that. We're focused on this alignment. In this scenario, as you look at it, as you get closer to the left side of the page, that all goes away, so to speak. It no longer becomes an access point for the park. It becomes part of the bridge and the bridge footprint. That would be up to the design and the city to somewhat determine how that's going to look. Would it be something that is beautified? Is it something that would be left rough terrain? Would it be something that was tried to program? And keeping in mind in all these things, these are scenarios that we would look at and talk about. We have not arrived at any final decisions on any of this, except we all agreed the alignment looked the best that we've seen. And we support that alignment. With that being said, we are all excited about the canvas it creates so that we can look at this and make it the best possible outcome we can. As you move to the right, there's a lot of different things there. We have talked a lot about a multimodal trail that would, as we've seen in other communities and parts of Lake Havasu City, we have a great opportunity here to put something that's going to wrap around the bridge on the west side of this footprint that is going to be welcoming to people of all ages, abilities, modes of transportation, et cetera. Can be done in a very straightforward, simple way that's going to create an asset for our community that we don't presently have. It's going to give you a way to go all the way around the channel, go across to the island if you choose to, go back towards London Bridge Road if you wanted to patronize some of the businesses there, and then also connect to the path along 95. So we think this is going to be a great connectivity opportunity. As you get over more towards the right, though, to look at the question about the alley, that will be space that becomes blank and a canvassing where the city will be able to decide, does it become something where it should be a decorative fenced area? Is it going to be some plantings? Is it going to be something where you try to put in some some other development type things there, but that'll be on the city's side of the conversation.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions from members of the council? All right, thank you, Mr. Roddy.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Would anyone else like to address the city council on this item?
Good evening, Bonnie, Toy. Hi, Mayor, Council, other people. You guys are all wonderful and amazing blessings. I'm looking at, you don't have to put it back up, that crazy map, and then going to my my Apple old iPhone thingy here that has Apple Maps, and enhancing it to get to where you guys have the Paseo del Sol and London Bridge Road. There's like that business story is right there in that intersection. And actually, I was wondering how the whole process, one, roundabout or not roundabout, why does it keep mentioning traffic signals? Because the road isn't busy all day, and in the middle of the night, when you're going 40 miles per hour down London Bridge Road, you don't want to have to stop at a stoplight.
Not over the speed limit, Ms. Toy?
I never do that. No. And then going on to the island, why again, is a stop sign, a stoplight being recommended versus a stoplight. And then where the roundabout is for the island, where it's going to meet into McCulloch Boulevard, which is just down from Beachcomber Boulevard. Beachcomber Boulevard, whether it has a stop sign or a stop light, which I already know it's designed for, will that not impact the roundabout in the future on the holiday weekends? On your holiday weekends is when what you're concerned about and why we have to have the whole second bridge, because of all the backup onto the main downtown area of Mesquite, Swanson, and McCulloch. But how is this going to eliminate that traffic onto the island? Because it doesn't seem like it will. It feels like it would enhance it when boats are stopped at that stop sign. The people coming off onto the roundabout are going to have to be waiting for the boats to clear. You already have you used to have really long lines all the time.
Yeah.
So how would that work? That's some of that. I don't understand the design and.
Sure. Yeah. So the roundabout would take in place some of those current traffic control on the island. So this would allow the traffic to free flow coming off of it.
It doesn't free flow once it stops, even though it says 600.
There's two scenarios here. There's a stop or a roundabout. So there was two analysis done for each of these intersections that was presented. So if we proceed with the roundabout option, the traffic would continue to move. That doesn't address London Bridge Road and South Palo Verde, but that's a different discussion. And it would eliminate the areas in these two roundabout areas.
How is London Bridge Road and Palo Verde affecting Paseo del Sol and London Bridge Road?
Yeah, so that alley may be abandoned, is what was mentioned earlier.
Yeah, but doesn't it abandon at Paseo del Sol?
Yes.
Or does the alleyway go all the way to London Bridge Road? I mean,
well, let's talk afterwards. Yeah, you have lots of things going here, so we'll talk afterwards, and we'll make sure it's all clarified for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Would anyone else like to address the City Council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Mr. Knutson, is there anything specific you need from council from this presentation?
No, Mayor and Council, it's a big project, and we wanted to check in with the council, the design team, the construction team. The city team has been working very hard to kind of pull things together, and wanted to come with a little bit of an update and start talking about intersections. So we'll be back and we'll do it again here in a couple months when things make sense to come back with some updates and trying to get some feedback. So it's a much better approach than coming to council at the end of it and saying, what do you guys think? So we're going to try to involve council on this project as much as we can, as much as it makes sense to do it, along the way. So, but I appreciate the feedback, appreciate the conversation, and I appreciate the presentation by everybody that did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knudsen. Thank you, Mr. Hart. Oh,
Just one more. Can you go back to that one? No, I'm kidding. Just if I can make one more quick, I'm sorry. I've been thinking about this, but it's going to create a lot of blank spaces over what was previously something else, right? That parking lot that is across the street. And so, I hope there's some beautification in the works for it, because we're basically tearing up something and putting something else there, and that's going to create a lot of blank space over there by those businesses, both on the island and on the Leno Ridge roadside. So I hope we have some intentions to take care of that area too, to make it look presentable.
All right. Again, thank you so much for the presentation, and we look forward to updates in the future. Item 8 is our call to the public. This is where citizens have the opportunity to address the city council on items within the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City. Your comments are limited to 3 minutes. There will be a an indicator box on the screens. You just ask that you direct your comments directly to the council. You don't have to sign up, and we didn't have anyone sign up. Would anyone like to address council during call to the public? Seeing none, we'll close the call to the public. Item 9, our current events. Are there any council committee reports?
Mayor?
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell?
I'll make it short, but it's pretty exciting. The Rural Transportation Advocacy Council has passed a federal resolution in regards to FE tax. What does that mean? As you guys know, I've been digging into HERF funding. We found out about that. We looked into VLT funding. We were very aware of how that's all working. And so the next question I asked the board of the RTAC board, which is Rural Transportation Advocacy Council, if most of you don't know, what is the FET, federal excise tax, and where is it all going? Because realistically, that comes down to 12% of every heavy vehicle purchased is charge FET. 48 cents, I believe, on diesel. Of course, we already talked about the HERF funding, which is gasoline fuels. And then also tire fees. And so fortunately for me, the director of Kevin Adams from RTAC and his team went to work and started asking all these great questions. What we came up with is we found out in 2009 that after a new election, a president came in and decided FET tax was always based on population, just like HERF, the same way we do the VLT taxes as well. And so what happened in 2009 is they decided that we no longer want to give you your allocations based on population growth. We're just going to give you like 2% year after year moving forward, which means a lot of the states that are high growing states like Arizona, population growth really took a hit. And so fortunately, our team came together and the staff came together and they presented an example that in just 2023, which was the most current data, there was approximately $198 million of allocation that has been redirected back to the federal government or to other states. So we were fortunate that the RTAC, as the chair, we presented our first federal agenda. And that got passed with a unanimous vote. So that was really great. We went and spoke to some lobbyists. And what I understand right now is that federal agenda is sitting on the desk of Representative Biggs and also Senator Kelly. So this is what we're doing. And I will be reaching out as your transportation board for cities and towns. And we'll be presenting a project there to them basically by June 6th. I got to get a part of that proclamation together or the agenda together and get that submitted as well. And so we're hopefully going to expand upon that and hopefully get some of this funding back to Arizona that we so desperately need. So that was my big big announcement. Thank you.
Are there any other council committee reports? All right. Item 10 is our future meetings. Our next meeting is on Tuesday, June 10th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. It'll be our regular meeting, but we also will have our tentative budget and CIP adoption. And then on Tuesday, June 24th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m., we'll have a regular meeting, and that is also our final budget adoption. Item 11, are there any future discussion items? Item 12, we are adjourned. Thanks for being here. Be kind, and we'll see you next time.
One quick statement. That was just for Maricopa County alone, was $198 million.